the whole day.
So I'll set that right there till there's another one here that somebody else.
Okay.
Oh, that's fine. You'll have to
I
say.
made color copies and got rid of his footnote.
Oh, okay,
Roman has them.
okay.
Hello. How are you? Lighten up, lighten up. It's a beautiful day.
See?
Just remember, everything that melts today will freeze tonight.
Correct.
Well, that's good. Maybe
Yes.
I can get it my driveway then. If it's frozen.
I always had thought that those Subarus were supposed to be something special.
That's what I can't understand. How come my Subaru won't get up there? It gets so close to the top, I could push it over the last little hill, but not.
After
Because you gotta go around that corner, right?
Well, you go around a corner, but I don't know why it's right at the top. I know, I'm embarrassed.
Remind
You're
yourself,
gonna have to super that corner so you can hit it at about 60.
it's not this.
Yeah, because Deb is, I had Dave directing me on the phone. Gun it, gun it. I'm trying.
And I'm glad that wasn't my conversation, because I wouldn't be
And I
walking.
did attach them to the minutes also, because of the.
Oh, perfect.
Yep. Go ahead, bud.
I said, I'm glad that wasn't my conversation, because I wouldn't be walking.
What would you be doing?
I kind of flail.
Oh.
In the turbulence.
I imagine that's what he was like.
You were screaming by the end. Well, I think I told you that already.
And that's usually the way it is.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Just Mother Mary, not Jesus Christ, just Mother Mary. I have 6 children.
Am I such a perfect title?
This is a good time to let you. I didn't want to hook on too much on Saturday, so I've been playing music on Saturdays. Remember,
Yeah.
which is the Easter Oratorio.
Organize
Like,
your
somebody's playing trombone and a bunch of people. There's 39 in the orchestra and 45 in the choir. But it's just kind of very like Well, the problem is not that. The problem is
Thank
the
you.
tells us how. I'm playing the bass. And so the problem is.
I wanted your questions to be there, so the PDF is.
Good. How are you? You are chipper today, huh? Good to hear. I always really try to. Yeah?
Try to tell something. If you do something.
Can't always guarantee.
Very supportive, and he always has a kind
When you have
word.
this hole.
There's enough things in the world.
I don't need to be taking a walk.
It does. How you doing otherwise? Busy? Ready for spring?
Good.
I am really ready for spring.
No.
Sometimes I get a little like,
I had a visit with brother about it somewhat, and I had a visit with.
I really, that's one of my big focuses in life is just trying to stay positive on everything.
So,
It really is.
So they had it.
I'm gonna send something for you to print
Like,
also.
when said
Okay.
that number 16
I can see, I have new contacts just
It
waiting
took
for
like
me.
988, maybe a 966.
Maybe I'll get there someday.
Log on loader, but they're all rolling stock.
Let's see.
Did our efforts Wednesday?
No, they took all portable, on reels equipment.
I think so.
There's another one that he's got to sign.
Did you guys get that?
Which one?
That's what
The
they
copy of Romans.
Yeah, this one,
So that's good.
that thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Don attachment should have been on the table.
No, that part's true. They did take some equipment out of there.
I think it was Google Don, my son would put it on the computer.
I have it. I wish I
Yeah, I
had
sent
it.
it to him, I think it was Google.
Okay, just because we wanna merge that.
They replaced the board.
Right.
I'll go check and make sure.
Yep, okay, I'm gonna send something else for you to.
Anything else we need to bring up?
As I always say to
Is that a
Norm,
big one or a little?
yeah, a lobotomy, he didn't do a good enough job the first time.
Really?
That was a big one.
Norm
Yeah,
did?
it was.
Yeah, he was walking around
It
with a
was
drill, and
not.
I said, I need a lobotomy, he said, hold still.
Oh, I know, I've seen
For over
bigger.
here, it was one of the bigger
No,
ones.
5.5 is big for here.
Yeah.
I've had a few concussions. I'm sure I'm gonna start forgetting stuff eventually.
Yeah, no, they took it all out.
Football concussions.
Yeah.
But they were
Football,
planning on
boxing,
putting in.
yeah.
Oh, you're a boxer too?
Yeah, on Saturday night.
New equipment.
I fought amateur for a few years. When I was a kid, I was always
So I
fighting
shut
kids.
down and took all-
Way older
I
than me
thought you were
because of
too
my
happy of a
beard.
guy to be a pilot.
That's
much, but it was none in that bill.
Okay,
Scared the
here's,
fuck.
I think I have
Revenues
this
that's for
printed, but
taxes,
because I
all
have
that
so
they-
much
I
stuff
asked.
printed.
Just to make sure, okay?
Yeah.
They're stripping the
I
no-
think
no-
probably
no
we should have
chassis
three
out
so
of
that
the
everybody
revenues
has
and
that.
commissions, all they took was rolling stock.
Oh,
That's all they took off the tax roll.
that's good for tax purposes.
Yeah.
I'll hand this to Mr.
Took the
Wally
head
County.
rate. You don't run a mill for a vote without a head rate.
Well, those guys focus on.
Okay, do we have, resolutions on that kind of?
We had a new small one.
Okay, is it sent?
It is sent.
Okay, right back.
The other thing I
And
need
that's what they
to,
were running on, but.
Roman, do you have your copy,
We were
since
running.
I would take updated?
Oh, I have those.
You have the updated ones?
I have the 16.
Yep, yep, so Dwayne and I both need one?
I got two of them.
Yep, were you able to punch and put in a
And we
binder?
had another break in.
I don't, but they're, I have them
Okay, yep,
together, so
good.
do you want me to bring them down, or
I think
punch them and then bring them down, or?
Maybe at
It
lunch.
looks at the log in and says, this
There's
is what
little
you cut
binders
out.
that are empty
Cuts
somewhere in
that.
there, you just
Okay.
have to look,
Yeah,
and
okay.
then we'll get those in
But
a
I do
binder.
have
There's no way
them,
look
I've
at
got
the
two
end.
copies,
Yep,
right?
that's what I wanted,
Okay.
yes, thank you.
Mhm.
Yep, we do need them.
The whole thing, yeah, top and bottom, length, the whole thing.
Yep, and it actually will rotate the logs on the fly. And we'll do 20 logs a minute, and we'll rotate the logs, we'll get optimum recovery out of the sweep and put in that log.
Really?
Yeah, that's still down there. Sweep it.
So that's the machine that does everything, so it does that.
Mhm.
And it's basically then sets it so that it cuts it to get the max out.
Yeah, if you watch all the printed and they're coming through like that.
I don't know.
Grabs it, spins it.
Yeah,
to the
because I
location,
haven't
works
got
off,
that.
get the maximum recovery out of it. Sweep it through, and it goes to my field.
Wow,
So, yeah, one pass deal.
okay. Is that on dog or is that on cats? It's all when it's gravel
No,
logs.
oh, okay, yep, I haven't
No,
looked at that
it's
either,
on
but we're looking at,
Windows.
yeah.
Indo.
No, I was the resolution. I don't know what type that is on
Neat.
And then, well, actually what it does is it dogs it and then it lays it down in that position on a crate. And then it just carries it through. And once it starts through, then there's guides on each side that is square and log up. And then once we bank this off this way, and so once it starts in there, it's back to
So it's cutting horizontally, not vertically on the
it's
side.
doing both. It's
Aren't they all on Tom Data?
We're gonna load it up, right? It'll take the sideboards off the side, it'll chip the outside.
I think they're all on Tom Data.
Two sideboards off each side, and then you end up with a square can in the middle.
Yeah.
And then it cuts the doors off.
Oh, really?
You know, 2 4s or 2 6s and more.
Well, but maybe the Com Data cards are
But we're
something.
putting out
I know when they first came out, they only
90,000,
could only use them in a Cenex field stop, but the Cenex is gone now.
That's a lot of two.
So I don't know if this
We did.
Those
part
studs or
expanded.
those eights?
This-
I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
I think that means the same one.
That was a big market. And we did, I bet we did 140.
Get some of these out of here by signing.
Did you find the resolution?
No, I
Nine
know it's
footers
up
going to
there.
people who want to follow the houses.
I didn't see it. was
I don't see
Yeah,
it
I
either.
don't know if everyone's 9 foot anymore. Some people come back 8.
Well, let's see, I think I have this on. I'll look at it because we need to.
Well, the plywood
Yes.
stuff is always 8 feet, see?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure.
Stickies that you like.
Yeah, it was
Yes,
a big
thank
deal.
you. I'm so protective of Tommy money, that's, those can be used about 10 times.
And by the way, I knew what you,
the fact that it's there is nice, the fact that our
I
line
knew-
is clear.
I would just be
Yeah,
this.
they fought
I know that.
you know.
Oh, no.
Like that, too.
We just want to hear me say exactly what it was, right?
Why would they put the starter?
No, you don't know the starter, I'm sorry. What'd he say?
Why were you putting the starter on? I'm confused.
There we go.
They- yeah. And so-
Oh, I forgot what that was about, I was thinking it was the writing.
You don't give and take.
Yeah, of course I just online. Yeah, if you could just give each
They
of
just
us
bring
that,
in
thank you.
Thought I might have seen this somewhere. There you go.
Another document?
Oh, just turn it upside down and stuff.
Hey, Clayton and
So,
Julia,
yeah,
if you
no.
would please sign
Email,
each
I
one of
believe.
these instead of saying all meetings for
That's-
purposes of
And you don't,
efficiency.
everything's got a
And accuracy, if you would just go ahead and sign each one.
tracks that way.
Yeah,
If he's got the board,
Well, you don't want
That
to
was
for
a really
yourself.
good mail account, so
What's that?
For yourself, you wanna wait
See,
until?
I also
wait till she
think
gets it all
about
over.
why I couldn't take care of a lot of stuff in town. It was getting chip outs with the farmers and the guys that were logging
Hopefully.
the field.
I think we got everything we need right now.
All right,
So I did
Dwayne, do you have
stuff
this?
at Wrigley, White Silver Springs,
what is it?
down to Lewis and.
So we can take a look at that?
Think so.
Okay, I don't think I have this in my,
I think it's in your phone.
Oh, yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
I have too much stuff.
So,
We don't know.
let me,
Yes.
let me make sure,
Along
No.
the eastern ones.
Hold on, let me get rid of this.
she wants us to hold
Yeah,
the
and
check.
it wasn't an
I
issue
guess.
left, it was an issue.
Who's she?
No, we just burned this down.
Rizzy wants us to hold the check?
What it says,
And so what happened is, it was one thing to go when you get the tip, it was
like,
another
hold
thing
the
to
check for
get
pickup.
Well, and
Oh,
that's been
okay. What check? But
The
it's
one
not-
you're gonna sign,
you know,
Is hers, oh, reimbursement?
yeah.
Okay,
Little brothers,
Yeah,
they were brothers.
and they did.
Now, look at that.
And so then they, you know, we logged the.
Which minute are you talking
Where
about?
do you leave the line?
You know, they wanted,
Well, the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of someone's.
So,
We went in there like you
should I
said,
keep this
first
out
of all.
so you don't forget?
no,
Okay.
Did you want me to take the check?
it could be right in front of me, and if I'm gonna forget it, I'll
I
forget
don't
it.
know where they're at.
Oh, here they are.
I wanted to sign
So-
checks.
Oh, you want them? Oh, good. I thought you had enough to do there, chicken bread couple.
But I would like to.
Cows to be able to use it, or do whatever else, and
Oh,
then it's like tangled up, and I'm talking all sets, cross sets, yes, all those things.
Okay, so
They're all
this is of the utmost
big
priority.
names that are in there.
You, I just put one on your desk.
Hey,
That's why RY, a lot of them in the seventies into the eighties.
You know, when we do the agenda, when we send it out, I was wondering, since we're doing the office hours, what if we could do a tentative one like on Monday?
You did, you're the one that said to quit doing that.
Oh, no, I meant not do again and again and again and again.
Oh, no.
If we just do one on a Monday, it's
Yeah, because
tentative,
we
and
used to.
then, and then do a finalized
Yeah.
one within the 48 hours, but I just meant the other way, if we do a tentative and then we have another thing, we do another tentative.
Oh, yeah, that's the only,
I think, what I thought is we just said one on Monday, just to.
We always have
Guy in the ice cream cone when he dropped it.
here's how we always did it. Tentative, you still send it to
That's
Chris,
what they
or
were.
is it
That's-
this
Oh,
one?
yeah.
Yes, then you send it out to everyone.
Oh, yeah.
And then you don't need to go in and change the tentative agenda because you have a final coming out and that's where your changes take place.
Right.
That's what we always used to do. And so.
Oh, what I was only referring to was that sometimes there'd be a tentative that came out on Monday, and there'd be another tentative that came out Monday afternoon.
That was
and then
just a
tentative.
misunderstanding.
Okay,
Yeah.
because then it's like clean, clean, and
No,
then, oh gee,
no.
oh gee.
No.
So,
So
but
one
we do
tentative
one on
is a
Monday.
great idea though, right?
The one that has
Yeah,
the
we've always done
baseline,
that
I
for
think it's a
years.
fabulous
Yeah.
the
idea.
baseline is there of, okay,
Yeah.
Wayne will be here Monday, me Tuesday, you whatever, weed board, LEPC, at least the baseline is there, and then the other stuff that gets fine tuned for the regular agenda.
Absolutely, we'll go right, I
Okay.
don't know where that disconnect happened.
Okay.
I don't.
We'll just go right back to it, that's good.
I like it, all right, okay.
But then, so what will make it easier for you is Friday before you leave, you can have that tentative
I've
agenda.
already got next week's fairly
Firmed up.
ready to set
Yeah.
for Monday, because I think me and Roman were talking about this in the middle of the week.
Yeah, when I was here on Wednesday.
Just
And I forgot to mention it to you, but because it just
But
slipped my mind.
again, we have always done
Yeah,
that for
but I
many
just-
years, it's just recently that tentative
There's the sad part is.
just in the last 3
basically
months.
then.
Because,
I think I told you, we've had several,
Miscommunication.
I've had several people approach me asking why we don't do it, I'm like, we don't know. So I think it would be great.
yeah, we'll go back to doing it,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
But that tentative also gets posted on the website.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no time limit on Monday, is there?
No, no. But if you have it done on Friday,
Send it out.
send it.
First thing Monday.
You can send it to them on Friday
If it's
when you're
clean,
leaving, yeah,
You don't have to worry about it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Just to help you, so you're not under,
No, that's good.
yeah.
I've kind of got it over
Where
to
have they talked?
Well, what happens is
I figured they were gonna do it.
Yeah, okay. I just thought I'd.
That's perfect, thank you. Honestly, I forgot, so.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'll sign those.
Who are they telling us?
kill the infrastructure. You can't
That's the second one.
You can replace the machine.
Julia,
You can't replace
would you
the
mind
brain,
signing
you can't replace
Yes,
the-
I would, because I'm gonna, please let me explain, because I already understand why you would like me to. I am not going to sign in for each meeting. What you have there is a meeting at each minutes, and instead of a meeting with agenda. Now, if you would like me to sign in for each agenda item, then I understand, but we're not going to play word games, Dawn.
No, we're not, that's right.
Okay.
And I would like
I
it if you
signed
would
up
sign in
for the
each
agenda,
topic.
and I am here for all agenda items, and that's what I wrote.
But here's the problem, I want to be accurate and efficient, so we'll change the word meeting to agenda item on each sheet.
Okay? And then if you're going to be accurate, then I would request that you follow the law, and for public comment in your minutes, you need to put the person and the topic they spoke about, not a complete list and a citizen asked this question.
Okay, I don't want to argue with you, but I am following our protocol, and I'm going to continue that.
I'm asking you to follow the law as it is in print currently.
I'm not gonna argue, please.
I'm asking you to follow the law as it is in print currently.
I take your comment seriously.
Thank you.
Because you UNM grad can do it, not Montana State.
Where'd my pen
Yeah,
go?
only person who's done it in years is me.
Really?
Hell yes, I can still do it. Takes land and sticks. But the key is, they own all this money, so they put millions of bucks in the farmers union plant. They put $2 million in the plant that's sitting in Shelby. They put $3.5 million in the plant that's in Sydney. They got no waiver to run it. So it's a brand new plant in Bear City. And then they killed the sugar beet mill this last month.
Yeah,
So
Did
maybe
we
with the
pull
sugar
those, or
beets, they
is there
can
just
I know,
those
he's
two?
checking
plant now for
Oh.
making
two so far.
The other way, there's no sugar.
I
now.
guess, who
Why they
owns
can't
them? Do we own them,
It's
Ms. Kellen?
beyond me. Yeah. I don't know why.
Well, she has to sign, so it would
Because
be her,
loggers are not.
I would think.
They can build
Yeah.
space, they can
And you
build-
said it didn't matter top or bottom.
You see what I'm saying?
You said it didn't matter top or bottom.
So I don't know why they don't do it, Ken, because it would seem to me that they're doing
Top or
it.
bottom, didn't care.
They would really, excuse me, sir. They would really get rural.
Oh,
Rural Western.
Yeah. Hey, Don, you guys have released.
Hello? Yes.
Hey, Dwayne,
Hello?
did you guys get Willie's letter signed?
Oh, I'm just getting, yeah.
That
Okay.
smudging one?
I had to think a minute, oh yeah, we called to find out how you do your Forest Service, and I think I got the answer to my question, I was looking to see if you use Title III funds. You still do, or?
No, the plant is fault fixed. It's okay. That's what we thought.
It's hard to see that box.
So, did you go through, like, did you check with your auditor, or how did you determine that your job description fit with what Title III says you need to do with the money?
See how it looks from this side. You guys still got a ton of snow up your way?
And tonight will be a lot of water that turns to ice,
Uh-huh.
including the ruts in the driveway.
Mhm. Adult education only, okay. Okay. Mhm. So, I'm not sure, did Mineral County ask you for a copy of the contract you use for that position? Okay, did we ask you for a job description, and did we get that? I don't know. Yeah, and we have been working on it a while. I don't think I asked, although I might have. I'm wondering, okay, that's good, it wasn't me then. I'm not losing my mind. Would it be too much to ask to have you send that again? Oh, that would be great. So my email is mc.commissioner@co.mineral.mt.us. Yep, sorry. Uh-huh. co.mineral.mt.us. And then, do you mind if I ask?
What's that?
How goes the battle?
Well, it's going, I guess.
And your cook's still working.
Yeah.
Hi, Juliet.
Hello.
Okay.
So this
So
is,
if it was here, is the
Position we can't
you don't want to.
Random.
And what I'm
And that's
finding is
confidence.
about 40 to
Okay.
50,000.
That dawned on us after you went out.
So,
Yeah.
And we
with
have both
benefits.
pages.
Well, I thought it was weird, it was typed up like that. Does that mean it's a lot or who? You know, I didn't know either.
64, 65.
I'll take some of them, because they're gonna give us $1 million. That's what I'm fun, and put snowfield, as long as they put all the time.
It's really quite useless, because it's out of context and out of order. It's all over the place.
I'm gonna be social, one of these things.
And this is not what he was teaching. I have
Oh,
What do I
I'm
know?
not looking at it.
One of these folks, the Spurgeon one or the Spurgeon one?
yeah, that means, yeah.
Yeah, we decided, I was just supposed to email it to him this morning.
I'm sorry, what was that? Was it not sure? Oh, yep, there was just some.
This one, you don't even know what,
With benefits or
this one.
in addition to benefits?
It's hard to tell what page it is.
Well, it's hard to tell if that's part of it, or you should go with starting with the open.
Well, thank you.
But it still doesn't, it doesn't go into the next page.
Yes. Yep, and that is what we're seeing, that's why I just wanna, be able to
This
refer
is
back
not
to
page
this
52 or
county, this
53.
county, this county.
And if it is,
So
how
I
do I
hope that
know?
nothing was too intrusive that I asked of you. And, oh, great, I'm very happy that you gave me a call back and that you're gonna let me take a look at your job description and we'll move ahead. But I also learned from you that that Title III is adult ed is that is something, that's a good piece to be aware of.
And it goes down, it's the exact same thing. Legislative intent.
All of them have that.
Yes,
Okay, listen, these are, Chasen's, Chase citations. That's what they are.
gotcha, yeah.
Make sure it's the same one.
It's to be another case, so what you have to do is what
Sure, yeah.
the attorney general, this is part of the attorney general's opinion. So this is arguing case law. This is not the entirety of it.
Oh, yeah.
But you have to look at this.
They cross the head,
Mhm.
and they blackball. It's like if you were going to be a and you say, you can't have a blackball, you're the 2 minutes, be a landmark. I don't know if you know this or not, if you want to go to the
Yeah, repeat pages.
So that's why that is, because you couldn't read all of this from this page.
No, somebody pissed somebody off.
Oh, Darren. Yeah. Maybe the name you were trying to think of was this one. So this would be the right letter? Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't realize that? Yeah, that's.
Yes.
You can always tell who was the most boss.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I shouldn't say that, should I?
That's straight from Lily there.
Okay. It's saying.
I know who got burned.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
Scary. What he says.
You let the simply just flash.
Serious flashes. That's kind of an interesting thing. That's one of these things.
So are you in hell on a Tuesday?
No, my daughter had that bone sawing surgery, had to go in for an
Oh, I'm going Tuesday.
Oh, you're going?
Yeah, agriculture luncheon is Tuesday, so I'm going to MCA. The governor's
Okay.
conference on agriculture has a meeting in his office from 2 to 3:30 on Tuesday.
Oh,
Yes.
Then the governor's reception is at the governor's house from 5 to 6 Tuesday.
oh, you invited to
He
go.
called me on
Yeah.
Wednesday.
The governor won't invite me, but Mrs. Governor.
Okay, excellent.
Well, I
If
get
I have
along
any
with
other
her.
questions,
He doesn't
I'd
like
like
me
to know
very
if I
much
can
because
go
of
back
her.
again.
Click
Oh.
the date
That's
today.
okay.
Okay.
Just don't mention my name to him.
Okay.
He also
Thank you
really
so much
pissed
for your
off.
time.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Over the water bill. I guess that's a bit of a bloodbath. Anyway, so I'm going Tuesday.
I need to
All right,
ask
well, road should be good.
We're gonna-
So road should be good, but the nice part is they got the money for Superior Meats,
come on.
for the composter.
Right, right.
So that helps, so just to kind of give that a little push in the arm,
Yeah.
might help them realize it is making a difference.
Oh, yeah, I mean, their store is looking really nice.
But he's gonna drop it in the mail
And the
Tuesday.
business is doing really
What did he
I
find
just hope
out
the
about
compost.
moving the
is-
checks?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Okay.
Well, it's the
So does she
garbage,
know?
so all these people who want to buy compost.
Yeah, will she remember who or where's our
I just
list
wish
to
we had a
tell her?
sawmill that made bark and stuff to make
There is
breakfast.
written on the top of the claim.
But that would be nice if they had that, because now I think they haul bark from Sun Mountain at, Deer Lodge to Idaho and Salt Lake City for all those guys who want bark in their yard.
Uh-huh.
That Crapo, Trucking, Crapo, the grain guys and potato guys from down at Idaho Falls and Rexburg, they haul all of it.
Oh,
So you see their trucks hauling bark. Different.
yeah.
Did Crapo ever haul out of you guys, Ken, or not?
Very little.
They did, okay.
Really, not much.
I think all the bark and stuff they haul over Idaho Falls and Salt Lake goes out of Sun Mountain now. Or most of it does.
What's that?
The bark, they haul bark for people's yards.
I hope I have time to
And they
get my
haul,
mess cleaned up here.
that stuff, I think they get it out of Sun Mountain at Deer Lodge to haul down there.
The Rexburg.
Yeah, they haul it from Sun Mountain at Deer Lodge down to Rexburg, Idaho Falls, Blackfoot, and Salt Lake City.
Yeah, the plants in Rexburg.
Is it? Yeah. Good old Crapo Trucking.
Yeah.
He was the governor of Idaho, you know.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, Mike Crapo. Yeah,
Oh, that's St. Crapo?
That's
Oh,
them.
yeah.
yeah, that's them. Different breed of cat.
Okay. former chair, I have a question for you. To solve the problem of each meeting being signed in for, if I gavel after each meeting and re-gavel for each topic, then do those become meetings?
Oh, you mean for a different sign-in sheet on?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you could do it that way.
And that will be, that makes each of those topics a meeting.
Right,
Yeah.
a separate individual.
Yeah, so maybe
If
for
someone might not
today.
wanna be here all day, they would be for that one.
Right, the issue I think was that I called, or the sign-in sheet say meeting, and then it has the topic.
Oh.
So I
So you
could,
just have to print more for each topic.
yes, just take the word meeting off and, yeah, or I can
Okay.
gavel between each, right? Okay,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but.
so if I need to do that today, if I don't get back there to change the word, I could just gavel in between each.
Uh-huh,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. What is this? Oh, I guess I have to read it.
I don't think it's, what was the number? Must be buried.
Oh.
And, if you want to really get on that last topic, really fancy, you can even put,
Yeah.
and then,
What's that?
pro farmer or old farmer,
Oh,
or just see.
oh, that's a good, very good idea. I like
And
that.
then they could just check the box.
Yeah.
Or,
Oh, no, I think that's perfect.
yeah.
Okay. But can I, I don't know if I can take your piece of paper and remind me.
What you already gave me from there.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will.
Or you can take the back page, I guess, it's just probably just an email thing on the back. Or
It
staple.
is, yeah.
Yeah. Or,
Yep, I want to do that, I like that.
okay.
I don't know if he has cleaned this one. Maybe.
You can do it next week.
Yeah, but if we could do it today, that would be great.
Uh-huh. Did you see this all that got done? Did you get time to
Yeah,
read that yet?
yep, yep. Darren, give me one more first minute. That's it. For which?
Job,
Oh, that was yesterday, yeah, he had that on there.
oh, okay.
You ready?
Oh, okay.
This month.
The bold and black one are the ones that are.
Four out of six. This month.
Okay.
I have a call in to him to call me back.
Okay,
I guess that's our options.
Okay.
Hey, girls, how are you?
I'm wonderful, it's Friday.
Oh, good. And St. Patrick's Day.
Mental breakdown last night, I'm doing great today. I was joking, can you strip that from the record?
We thought you were just joking, so no worries.
Okay.
Just clarifying.
Where is it, Dwayne?
Normal way that.
It wasn't on the agenda, so it's not part of the official minutes.
Everybody's on this one. Highway department, county buildings.
Sarah?
It took me a minute, but I knew I got the answer.
That's why they come out with us, it's really good.
Yeah.
Get it free time. Yeah, I think they've got one.
I know you got the second one, I think you got the
Oh.
first one that had more data on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, I told, Norco to take off your name, and you said
It's pretty.
Hi,
Might be
Clay.
sunshine.
Oh, yeah.
I'm good.
Into it, really. You're sure? It wasn't my DNA, but it was my fingerprints, right? Yeah, I mean, easy, I don't care what I say.
Can I sit
I
by
just
you?
like I just like the fact that they've got arms on them, because they seem to, they shouldn't be, but they seem like they fit better. I don't know.
So I went to California on my sister's mileage.
Yeah.
And her husband flies for business a lot.
Juliet, I think I found a solution.
So anyway, he got me upgraded to.
For each
class
topic,
over the
or if I
lights.
choose to gavel,
The
then
last
there are
night there was no
meetings.
such
For
class,
each
tiny
topic,
jet.
I
so
have
you mean
it, yeah.
each agenda item?
Well, they're not even gonna be named.
That's the first time I've.
Admin
ever-
business?
And I wouldn't pay the extra.
Are you for, against,
because
or just here to
It's
observe?
quite worth that. No, no.
Okay,
And I got
so-
That makes no sense.
Tell me why.
Because I don't need to tell you if I'm for or against anything, that's
But maybe you
not-
would like
no.
to. Okay, oh, this is, it's okay. I came to you
The
and said, what do you
information that you
think?
need, the information that you need is who was present at the meeting.
Yep.
At the meeting, and each agenda item,
Well, here's, if it becomes too cumbersome, I'll just gavel after each agenda item and make each one a meeting. This was suggested, well, it does.
that's not
So-
how it works, Dawn.
Okay, anyway.
That's not how it works.
Okay,
You are in a quorum all day. It is a meeting all day. It is published as a meeting all day. You don't get to stop the meeting unless you're gonna call it a break. Otherwise, gaveling at the end of every agenda item is now trying to stop the progress of participation and
No,
information.
it doesn't at all, because then you
Then
gavel
what are
again
you,
for the
then what
next
are
one.
you, then what are you doing between the gavel for the end of one agenda item and the gavel for the next agenda item?
It starts
If it's a-
immediately.
If it doesn't, and a lot of your agenda items are spaced out that they don't.
But so what would happen, Julianne, is that you'd gavel signaling the end, and then if you have a 5-minute break,
The
you
end
take
of-
the end of that meeting.
It's an agenda item. It
Roman,
is
I'm gonna
not
let
an
you,
individual
as the
meeting.
chair, I do want you to step in, because I can't articulate it.
Each agenda item is not an individual meeting. And when you gavel, you're closing that agenda item. So what are you doing between closing an agenda item and opening the next agenda item when there is time and it's not a scheduled break? So what are you doing in between? What business are you conducting between the gavel that says the agenda item is over and the next agenda item happens?
You don't conduct business in between.
But you guys do.
That's okay.
Like administrative or get a cup of coffee or?
Exactly, what are you doing up there? Because you pass the minutes without reading them aloud. You don't accept changes very well to minutes, and the public doesn't get to see them until after you approve them. So how do we even know if the minutes are correct if you're not reading them back to us first?
But they are available to you on the table, Julia.
But
And
you
did
don't take
submit-
changes.
Yes, we did. You submitted a change and that change occurred. February 24th, I believe, you gave us a handwritten, and I clarified the issue that you brought up. So that isn't true to say we don't listen. Did you see that change?
It was not reflected in the minutes that were final.
Yes, it was.
The ones I got last week were not. They did not state who was in the closed door. You addressed that I had brought it up, but it was not in the closed door who was in there.
No, because we don't do that.
Okay, there you go.
You don't put that in the minutes, but what you said was,
Nice idea.
I clarified that we went into a closed session, and then I opened the session back up in the minutes and told, the same people were still there, and then just recorded what they was. But I took your change to be that this needed clarified, and I clarified
It need to be clarified who was in the closed session as a quorum, as legal advice, and as HR. We're not asking for victims, we're asking you to identify who the quorum was, which is required. You can't have a closed door session if you don't acknowledge who closed it.
I will take your comment and look into that.
That's what you said last time.
And I
Thank you.
did. What I understood was that you were asking for clarification, and I thought I clarified what you wrote. Okay, and then I
I'm
did
clarifying
hear.
if you had legal counsel in there and who the quorum was. That's what I asked for, to be listed in the closed
Oh,
meeting.
she's talking about, oh, I thought,
During the, when you closed the meeting, who was in the closed meeting?
oh,
Who was the quorum? And if Wally was there as legal counsel, and was Darren there as HR, or was he there as an administrative assistant? That's all I asked for. I didn't ask to name victims, but who closed the meeting and who was there as the quorum, legal counsel, and HR? That's what I'm asking for, and that is our right as the public to know who made those decisions and where they got the information to make those decisions.
okay, I think I'm following you now. Yeah, we'll have to,
Yeah, we were on a different topic.
yeah, I thought we were talking about the.
We were
check-in
talking
sheet
about-
and the
yeah,
gavel in the meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
You also.
I get that the contents are private, I get that.
No, I understand what you're
But who attended
saying.
in what official capacity is what I asked. And that was written down on official capacity,
That's not what your
including Wally.
note said.
That is, including Wally.
So we became an expert on your ass.
That she wrote to you about the closed meeting. But
Your
the good thing is, Julia,
Well, she's
we're
asking,
moving
but she's
ahead.
talking about the minutes, she wanted to have the minutes reflect during, when the meeting was closed, who was present.
Yes, I understand what she's saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there, but that is not what you and I interpreted the note to say. That's why I went back and clarified. We broke for a closed meeting and then we
I
reopened.
thought everybody, if people wanted to. I'll have to look at the minutes and see what they say and see what.
That's what they said, is what I just said. That's what you and I discussed.
We'll look into it.
Yeah.
So the three questions are that one, and then gavel between topics on agenda versus closing the, ending the meeting, that one, and then the other one was.
Okay.
What was it?
I don't know, but she, I'm gonna go back and revise this again because this was not
That's not what she was asking.
right, it's,
Yeah, well, if I understand the question, I'll look into that.
Darren, we're gonna revise that again.
Okay.
I'm gonna send you some. For your daughter? No, for you.
So Roman, my concern is if that you're gaveling and ending an agenda item and you have a lag that's not a built-in break, and you have that 20 minutes where you guys are sitting at the desk, and that's often when you've passed the minutes, but the public isn't getting until 2 weeks. This is only the third week that you've actually given us the minutes in advance.
Uh-huh.
You're not
telling us when you're passing them. We're not seeing the vote, we're not seeing the motion, we're not seeing anything. Those are not ministerial items. Those are not the thoughtless signing. So the public needs to be involved in that. That's my concern. What are you doing in that lag time? What are you doing during this administration time? If you're doing anything more than signing ministerial items, then it becomes public, and we need to have the public involved, and that includes any changes to the minutes or anything that got missed or left out, or things that were brought up in public comment that perhaps need to be brought forward to the agenda. So there's a lot of lag time in there. This hour right now is a huge lag time. I can't believe that you guys sit there and sign checks and things that require no thought for an hour, and then still have the lag time between agenda items that the public has no idea what you're doing, what you aren't doing. We don't know. So that's my concern. That's why I asked that question. I understand ending that agenda item. I understand that. But when you move on to business at the table, remember.
Oh, so it's not necessarily the sound of a gavel or ending a topic?
No, it's ending
what
a
your
topic,
concern
it's
is
fine.
that when we have lag time, that we're doing minutes or something else that you want to be aware of.
If you're doing non-ministerial work, yes, the public needs to be involved. If you're approving minutes, you shouldn't be doing that up there in a hushed voice between the three of you. It's public. It requires thought. It requires an opinion. That is the definition of non-ministerial, correct, Wally?
I don't know what your question was, I wasn't listening to it, I wasn't reading this, but go ahead.
If it requires them to have an opinion or a thought beyond administrative duty, then the public is involved. That is a non-ministerial.
Non-ministerial means you're making a policy cut or a policy decision, yeah. It's changing something. Anything else, like
Anything.
paying the bills, those things, that's all.
Ministerial.
It's administrative. The
It
way
requires
it's
no
worded-
opinion or thought on the commissioner's part.
She's saying that when it comes to the minutes in particular,
Uh-huh.
that the public would like to, when there's
And
any
that's a
motions or
reasonable thing for
changes
the
or
public,
correction.
And
Pardon
that's
me?
reasonable for the public to see the minutes, are they accurate in their mind or not? Yeah, because that's the administrative.
But we'd also like to see when they approve them or any changes they make at the table,
That's
not
reasonable
just
to say.
quietly doing it in front of
That's
us.
reasonable to say.
Yeah.
So,
Can I make a suggestion, just so that we all remain professional? Would you mind, Juliet, writing out your suggestions and handing those in? And then we can get a clear understanding of them.
this particular item about the minutes and the agenda was brought up as an agenda item and asked for action, and so I have tried to bring these up before.
No,
And
if you would write down what you're looking to change, and then we could all take a look at that. We'll print it for each commissioner, take a
She's not
look.
necessarily.
I'm not looking to change anything. I'm looking to have you guys follow the letter of the law, period. That's it.
If you could put your concerns in writing to us, so that we don't have to banter back and forth, that would be great, if you put your concerns.
I find that that is being counterproductive to the public participation, Dawn. If I write it down, then your answer is to me and not to the public.
It's really hard for me to say.
If the minutes are posted though, and there's a week to review the minutes, whatever else, and then if there's no comment on it, then the minutes are ministerial. Because if it's posted and there's no comment,
But she's
then
concerned that,
it becomes ministerial.
that she may not have the opportunity to see them, and then
Yeah, that's the issue.
Between agenda items, so it's not the sound of the gavel ending a topic, it's that we might take advantage of that free time to pass the minutes, and she was
And I
unaware.
can see this-
Or other things. We don't know. We don't know what's going on up there.
okay?
That's what I'm trying to get at, is the public wants to know everything you're doing, and we do have that right to know everything you're doing, ministerial and non-ministerial.
There we go. That should be good. Good morning, Mike.
It's for you guys, the whole ground. I didn't know if it was gonna be big, but I wanted because of the together.
So some of the which is really cool because we use it.
So how have you been? Is your health not better?
Yeah, get over it.
How did you get over it? Did you get on antibiotics?
I took enough antibiotics and enough life drugs to cure it.
Yes. Together or separate?
Separate, that's an old story.
I know.
Or that's what girls say.
I know, and I do. Yeah. So as a kid, had a lot of stomach aches.
It worked. I bet you do.
Here, and I was trying to be.
That's not funny, I'm not in the barn.
On girls stepping there. So as long as you're up front, it's.
I still think you're
Dwayne?
colorblind.
Yeah.
You think
Who
that
had a,
those big spots are
Those,
really?
the big spots are mostly
to the,
Even
Well,
locally.
where is the?
oh, wow.
Said something about on their
I was looking for an orange shirt on for you, and I couldn't find mine, it was in the water.
Well, your nails kind of orange.
A dog,
You know, I thought about an orange shirt, but I
You know, now as a adult, she's not concerned, she's gonna knock me out.
How dare you do that?
That's all there is.
I've done it. I played that parade four times, I could imagine. Please do.
And your orange shirt?
Oh, yes, yeah.
And Scott, and it's funny because she would say, I'm like this every day. That was her joke, you know.
I went to Ireland
To do it
and
special.
with Prince, you know who he is? Yeah. And, he's like, you know, we got a whole history of Ireland in the tour, which was great. And my daughter actually got 3 credits from him, because he did his whole class.
Are you Irish, Diane?
Yeah, my grandpa was born there.
Did you happen,
It's Irish.
did you happen to know that west of the Mississippi River, Montana is the state that has the largest per capita ratio of Irish folks?
And Butte,
Yeah, yeah,
specifically Butte, yeah, I just read that. I didn't know about Montana, but I did know
yeah,
Butte.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, they had a pretty active group during the 1920s, you know, or the 19-teens.
1915,
No, I'm only grabbing one at a time, so you get that, just trying to help you.
yeah.
Still got your file there, I only did 4.
Was the KKK there then too?
No, the National Socialist Party.
Yeah, I know, but I know the KKK was active in
KKK was
Montana.
active, but no.
And Whitehall was kind of the center of that,
Yeah, but the National Socialist Party's headquarters was in Wolford.
and it was all Irish.
Yep,
Yeah, I didn't know
because
that,
they were pissed off at the ACM.
but they should have been.
And the minute the
Gave us the Montana film, it still
office.
stands in Anaconda.
But, yeah, and I thought that it
Just
was
what the Anaconda company did to us.
I'll follow up.
Folks that was just-
Well, they come up and down, did they?
Is this yours? I keep losing.
Well, they shouldn't be-
Yeah,
is this yours?
Yeah, I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, you grow up on top of it.
Ricky,
Can you?
You could, in the old days, you could have a box.
Tom?
It's huge.
Yeah.
They've got some.
I didn't even get you
No, I
pre
don't want like, Clark.
Mine's a bit-
Taylor's a little bit, but Clark was very good.
I was looking.
Mine's a-
You should have been paying attention to me.
We didn't.
Yes, I know, but, and, yes, Clark really, and then he went down to Arizona and did the same thing down there. At least David went to do things like that.
And Jennifer sent hers today. That's no, that just came through.
He signed it
County. Just sent her. That was her, that was. I had
Because they're eating his alfalfa.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Title III cannot be used for
They did it.
anything other when it comes to education, it's for adult education.
On his
So
way
when we
to
talk
Congress,
about
to Congress, then he got tossed out.
kids,
Then he got back in
and
again.
maybe that'd be a good use of Title III money.
Oh, that scholarship thing?
Yeah, you know, when I learned about the
Title
Can or
III,
cannot?
Clark and
Jennifer did.
Cause she, yeah, cause she's interpreted the forest. We have that one opinion on the Forest Service that it wasn't in regard to the scholarship.
Well, that's her.
She just said adult, and I think you probably heard me, it's for adult education only.
Pretty well.
Yeah, because it falls under homeowners and kids don't.
The way I read that, maybe those Forest Service guys, we can use it for anything we want to, as long as we take responsibility.
And the auditors approve it, that's what I saw there too.
That's exactly what.
And Jessica checked with the auditors too, because, yeah.
She likes it?
Yeah, you're right, Dwayne.
Put it in the fund.
Good.
She bought her property next to
Do you want me to flag those checks that need to be held out?
Oh, so she lives in
It's written.
That's a lot of history.
Did you want some of these?
No, oh, unless you want me to, I was just thinking about your question.
So, I'm sorry, what?
They do need to sort of, they're gonna look at the claim and then figure it out.
Was it 10 o'clock, so we just
Yeah.
have 5 minutes? Okay, it's
Oh, okay.
Don't be taking time.
I always do.
I know.
When you guys were running the mill, did you ever find the most important help with the But remember,
Right.
none from the CCC or from the OPA, from the 30s.
Yeah, no, I never mentioned that conference.
Jenny and Jeremy?
Well, I have a copy of part of it.
Okay.
I got a copy of the here, back this way, along the river on the other side. It's a three-part map of the building, this much is the first.
I know.
piece. I don't
How
have
come
the
that
rest.
happened?
It was done by the Lowell National Forest. The cartographers on they put it in. So I'm sure that the CCC finished it. When they were here, they also finished the road. A bunch of it, St. Joe. So I'm sure it was a map. I just thought maybe you guys had seen it when we were cutting timber, or looking for timber sales. They had it.
My,
Forest Service is looking for
my
it.
sister
Help me.
went to the University of
Well, everything happened, we think where it is in the first part of the well, the damn Forest Service cleaned out that old office downtown, which is one of the big buildings. That was all in the basement. And so they moved it to the forest, and it's in storage out there. The problem is, I don't know where. It is in storage, yeah. And so I asked him about it, and I said, what do you guys do with the slides? What? I said, where are the slides?
I cleaned that back this fall.
I said, you have 40,000 slides.
It's all my stuff.
I'm sure we have. I said, well, I'll find those too. So they're looking for me to find them.
Yeah,
Well, I must have
I
met,
would
because I
guess.
think about this, like Sear and St. Joe Road, and Red Hook Road, and Budget Beach Road, this road thing, the 60s. Does from the 30s and 60s, like 30 years. So people would have never, they were probably still working for the agencies, the guys who, well, I just figured maybe you guys saw one.
No, not that I can remember.
If you see any of them, you might ask. But the impression I have is they're not a map like that. I think what they are, they're like this.
I think that's how.
They're about this wide, like this. And they rolled
2
up.
minutes?
And so they kind of went off the highway, and they went off like the Sear Road.
Well, I know
Off
Joel
like
Amy,
the
Joel,
Blue Road.
and then I've
And
also
then
met
they,
their
you
son.
know, the roads
I
on
think his name
rolled them
Mark,
up, so you
yeah.
had a roll of them, everything off of them.
I was circulating a petition for,
It's the only clue I have. Because I've got a copy of the one part of the one, I'm pretty sure he did
he
it.
came on.
The guy's name was Ford, he did it.
I'll sign it 5 times. I'll sign my mom's
Ford,
name on it.
KWF.
And I know where she's.
And they mapped that part of the road between March of 1933 and January 1934. And all the stuff on the map, when they did it, whose property it was,
Yeah, that was the first time I did it.
all that way. Yeah.
Are these
So if your
ready?
forester is,
Are these ready to go? I was just hoping to have these checks done with, 1 minute.
The French Canadian.
So you,
what's his name? ones he has, don't seem to exist in the territorials and the other
They
super
were,
ones they got going on.
I went up a couple of times at least for the tree lighting.
Maybe,
I did.
maybe
Yeah,
Forest Service
I mean, this
will
was
do
when I
it.
got this other tree.
If they can figure out
That's why.
where the hell
But
it's
I
coming
keep
from.
losing my.
That's what I'm afraid of. You're right, it's in a box,
Did I do it?
it's somewhere.
And the water is
Okay, and I think that's right on time. Do you want to move?
which I also would
And
like.
it was all beautifully indexed in the basement of the
It's got
old
leaky paint
We
now.
went downstairs into the basement, it was well lit, it was air conditioned.
Good morning, please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and welcome everyone. We'll start with public comment, and I just want to remind all of us, this is a time for all of us to be respectful to each other. It isn't question and answer, and it isn't debate time. But thank you, and if you have a comment, please come up to the podium.
I've got a comment. Glenn Kepi, St. Regis. I have just a general concern. I haven't heard any discussion about Millen's wrecking yard out west of town here for a long time. And it just gets worse and worse. And it's a blight on the whole valley. Is there anything that can be done by the county and or the state to try to rein that in? That's my question.
Thank you.
Yeah. I would answer, sorry.
Hello, my name is Clayton Ward. First off, I'd like to apologize. Yes, last week I made a statement that was a little concerned on my part, I guess, about the minutes that were posted, where it stated, where I said they weren't accurate. And what I was referring to was the health board meeting that was held the week before in Kirk. And I would just like to ask that when they have a meeting during our public time with the commissioners involved or even present, that rather than having something on the minutes, say you could contact these people, if they could get, if the commission itself could get copies of those and have them available for the public, for the people to go with the minutes from the week before. And that's basically, you know, and make sure and try to keep up with. Actually, in this week's minutes, it says nothing. I even made a comment last week, a public comment. So,
Thank you.
Good morning. Name's Mike Curtin. I got 3 points I want to bring up today. The first one being the same point I brought up last week. I am requesting that Dwayne and Zalawi resign for the comments they made. They have embarrassed this county in all of western Montana with those comments, and there's been several write-ups in the paper. We're like the laughing stock. And if you can't, then the public, us, your employees, have other options. My second point is, I had an email yesterday about you guys are starting a committee for finance resource or oversight for the money that the county gets from the Fed. And I would like to apply for that, one of those positions as a board member. I was a successful businessman for decades, and I think I could be an asset to that board. And my third point is Micah is trying to get hired back as a deputy, and there's no problem with him, and I think you guys are putting the county's safety at risk by using this ploy for revenge against him because he sued the county and won, because you'd screwed up before. And I think he's a good man, he should be rehired as deputy. That's all I got to say today.
Thank you. Good morning.
I was just coming to do a quick follow-up on my request about the shed over at the museum. So I came to you guys first, and then I went to the members, and I took them on a tour of where I was gonna put it, and I showed them the downstairs of all the stuff that needed to go in it. And a few of them right away said, and Leroy marked out on the ground, 10 by 12. And they said, Joel, don't you think you've already outgrown the shed before you've built it? So they noticed that we had 6 more feet to come out to the parking lot and be even with the library shed. And they said, how about considering 14 by 14? So Leroy put all the numbers together and to see how much it would cost to go 14 by 14, and we're just under 3,000. So the members, were ecstatic and said, but then they said, but Joellen, you asked the commissioners for if you could put a 10 by 12 there, you need to go follow up and ask if you can make it bigger. I can't just assume I could, so I says, putting that out there real quick.
And you might want to go down and look.
We would have to have you, yeah.
You might want to go look and see.
Sure, could we have you come to the podium, Leroy?
Okay.
Yeah, you don't get to talk on my turn.
That's right. You're
Well, I didn't know
taking
if
her
you
time.
discussed it. But you might want to go and look and see where I painted. Norm suggested we put it next to the propane tank, but there's been some conflict with, some people don't want it there.
No, that's not what it is. He thought it was gonna be go out bigger, but now that you painted it, you'll see.
But I just think you guys need to go look and see where I painted the 2 spots where the shed would go. The one would be by the propane tank, and the other one, we would move the library storage shed west, and then put ours right even with into the hospital.
But 14 feet pushes it out to the parking lot too much, so bad communication
Yep.
there.
And they were saying
Thank you.
that the parking lot might get paved, so that was kind of an
That
issue
was one of the
too.
concerns. But, and we can't, the reason why I dropped the idea about putting it where the library shed was is because, the library shed is plumb full of books. I was led to believe it was plumb full of boxes. The boxes are plumb full of books. And so we'd have to move all those boxes out to move that shed. So the libraries, so all the members talked about, well, then there's no reason to move the shed if we gotta go to all that work, so. But by the tank is perfect, and I'm just asking if I can go a little bigger.
Well, this is a time when we can't do an action item.
Oh.
It's just your public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you don't need to apologize. You gave us good information and we can take a look at it, but we can't do an action item.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Okay, so should I ask to come on the agenda again then?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys.
And you'll do that through Darren.
Yes.
Okay,
Like I did
very
the
good.
first time.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks, you guys. Sorry. So then do I have to repeat it when I come back on the agenda?
We'll talk, Joellen, we'll talk.
Okay. No, don't do so good.
Good job.
Good morning, Diane Pagone. Is this on?
Now it is.
So,
But could
thanks,
you stand-
Joellen.
Yeah, stand in front of it so that we hear you.
Thank you, Joellen, for being such a great. I don't know if it is. There it is. Oh my heavens, there it is. Thank you, Joellen, for being such a great volunteer for our museum. I just would like to review some of the positive things that have happened since the 1st of January, just to kind of remind us that we're moving forward in a lot of areas. Number 1, the rules of conduct and order for public comment and developed other criteria for a more orderly meeting. Thank you. Installed mic and speaker system. Set up department heads meetings to meet quarterly, I believe. Steps to form a board of investments. Set regular office hours for commissioners, and you guys are doing that, which is really appreciated. Working to develop a more accessible and user-friendly website. And please change the name. I can't ever. So yeah, it's Mineral County, or I can't remember what it is. Has established a sincere effort to make minutes available in a more timely manner. Scheduled a meeting with the Department of Revenue and had that meeting to address our tax issues. And last but not least, which probably we can all agree on, which was voted to allow Wally to pursue the reopening of the Searong Mountain Road. And I know I missed some things, but I just want to know that I really appreciate these things being done. And I think our meetings hopefully will start running much more professionally. Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, everybody else. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anna Marie White, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. So I am standing in proxy for a few folks that do not want their names publicized, so I will keep that to myself. The first thing that I do want to say is that I did a Facebook poll 11 hours ago, and there have been several responses. We are currently at 72% of the folks asking that these meetings be live streamed and also audio video recorded and then made available. So I think that's important for you guys to know, because 72% of the responses would like to see both of those things happening. So in proxy, I don't have the agenda printed out for today, but I did take a look at it. There are concerns about the agenda being a, quote, moving target. So I just want that to be reflected in this meeting today. There have been several suggestions that there be an outdoor sandwich sign regarding today's meeting. Every Friday's meeting, similar to the Mineral County is now hiring sign, which I think would be an easy, or is an easy ask. And then microphones at your table. So this is great, everybody can hear me so long as I'm facing this way, but I am sharing the videos with neighbors and friends that do not have access otherwise, and it's super difficult to hear when you're either addressing the public or even talking amongst yourselves. So there feels like some exclusion happening. I did bring up mics at your table. Roman, you were gone, but I brought that up last week. So again, it's something that just needs to be, I suppose, recorded and known, and if I need to get on the agenda to discuss that as an action item, I'm willing to do that, but I'm hoping that it's something that you'll see the value of without that. The OWL camera is another thing. I know that Mineral County, not you guys, but Mineral County owns an OWL camera. If we can use it for other meetings and other groups, why are we not using it here? Juliet's camera does a fabulous job, but she's a private citizen doing this on her own time. I would like for this to be the job of the commissioners, however you see fit to get it out there. Audio, video recording, I've already talked about that. 72% of people polled in Mineral County would like to see that happen, and also broadcasted via YouTube. Live Zoom, live FaceTime. Our governor does both of those. It's really easy, gives the public an opportunity to ask questions live, then they're read out to him, and then he responds. And then, again, in proxy, want to go back to your hiring
I'm
practices.
sorry, but we will have to stop at that point.
Okay, so,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you very much, Anna Marie.
Okay, but I'll come back so that I can.
Another day. Yep.
I'll come back later in today's meeting. It pertains here.
Hi, Juliet Miller. First off, before you start that timer, Don, I'd like to ask where the public interest that requires you to limit time. Because yes, last week you stated that time limits would be used if there was significant public interest so that everybody got their opportunity to speak. By setting a time limit before anyone even speaks, and you don't know how many people are going to speak, I think that it is curtailing the public participation. We sit here and we listen to the crickets. You just recently told me that you will not have a discussion. When I tried to have one during your administrative, you tell me to come talk to you privately and that you can answer me then. That doesn't answer to the public. That answers to me, and I'm not here to answer to me. I'm here to have you guys answer to the public, who are your employers. On 2/24, we, Clayton and I, asked for you to address this agenda. Your public transparency and the business that you conduct, both ministerial and non-ministerial. We asked you for an action. You denied both of us an action on this. Now you've tabled this indefinitely to present us with rules of how we behave. This is being placed on the public first before your responsibilities that are defined by law are addressed. We want you to follow the law that is already written before you start taking opinions from the deputy county attorney on how you can change and subvert public comment and participation. You have clear laws in open meeting, but you have 3 clear laws in our rights. And the most important one is the right to speak. Not how you want me to, but to redress my grievances. You may not agree, but I have that right to redress grievances in this county with the controlling board that we pay for. So I ask, stop pushing these new rules, procedures, whatever you want to call them, to replace an existing resolution that works, and work on yourselves first. This is becoming abusive to the public when you will sit here for however many minutes you have left in the public comment, silently, doing whatever business you're doing, ministerial or non-ministerial, and it's an offense to the public. Don't limit us on our participation when we're just starting to get the public seriously participating. You need to bring back in line how you behave and the way you conduct business.
Thank you.
In accordance with Montana Code annotated. Thank you. Let me finish my sentence and I will be done. Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Ken Burley. I've been sitting in these meetings for quite a while, and as I think it was pointed out earlier, the progress that's been made here, I think we're moving forward in the right direction, but I have to say, these disruptive comments are not helping anything. We're here for a common goal. We're trying to move forward. I respect the fact that you guys are listening to the public at this juncture, and we're getting some things done. So let's all try to work together to try to make a common goal here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Founding guys are here. Our founding. There's 3 plans. Should I put this on the screen now? For the next presentation? First.
Yep.
For service.
What I would say though is don't turn your TV on until after you have the presentation ready, otherwise emails and everything come up and get on the screen. So, yep, pull it up first. Yep. It's
How are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Good. Good. Is the forest still full of snow?
Yes.
Can't get over the Joe yet?
Okay, I think I got it set up for you guys now. I think we're good.
It's gonna work, yeah, I do have
Oh, yeah, I think we got it though.
How you doing? She's my chair. How's the wrestler from Thompson Falls?
Too bad, how about you? Good. I saw Amber got a state championship.
That was something because, well, at divisionals, which we didn't go there. What kind of work? She only won by 1 point. When she gets into state, the first team she beats them like
Did we get
40
a
points.
signature?
The Mercy rule, with her JV triggering that. And the next game, like 27 points.
Looks like it's working out good enough.
Final game is Queen was 30.
So she's got a daughter and a niece on the team?
Yeah, Paige Washington.
All right. All you gotta do is hit the little space bar and hold her down for you.
What's that there?
All you gotta do is hit that little space bar.
Yeah.
Share it right there. Cheese and T-bone.
Disappointed though, that
They're right on top of this.
out of the building, so they have to Paige.
You can take.
When it came back, well, then Sunday, oh, maybe they didn't get in time Saturday. Yeah. Nothing in the Sunday paper about Class C, and then nothing on Monday at all. Boys and or girls, I thought they had double A and A and B, but nothing about C. Not that be a big deal.
Well, I just have an app on my phone, and so I always just name as much as I can.
So I didn't realize that you do.
Noticing the paper what was in National Zululand or not.
Did you know Amber, or are you older or younger?
About 1 year older than you.
Oh, she was an actor. When she was about 14, we were down by the river, we were throwing rocks, and And I started to know she could throw the rock as far as me across the water, and then she went on the track for Penn State. It's still superior there. Allowing the javelin, she could throw like a boy, like her mom.
She played baseball against all of us when we were little.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Follow it.
Yeah, what about the post, that looks like it's posted. Yeah, that looks
They haven't changed.
Okay, so I'm shifting up to the left. Can't say her name.
No, seriously.
I know.
Unless you can run it through.
I think I'll go first, and do my road update, and answer any questions you got. I'll turn it over to Nate, and then they can either go over the projects.
So, I do have a question on this. Since this isn't an action item, I just want to come here.
That's up to you guys, it doesn't matter to me, I'll answer
So
questions.
you'll have to help me out on that.
It's up to you.
So it's not an action item.
Either,
I know.
and whatever you decide, and either, or if they have questions for me, they get, I'll wait on the hallway if they ask me.
Questions that you have.
Yeah, I'll be around, I can stay around for if they ask me.
Sure.
Whatever, I'm open, I don't
Okay,
care.
so thank you.
Well, just introduce it. Right, right. No. So I don't know.
I know somehow that's a long time to go. So I don't know how we can change that, but.
For me, it's like we're experiencing that. Overload. Just well as the best. Kids and everything. We got a 9 or 13, got a teenager now. Just got to this time. It's fun. I was smart. I went that way for about 5 years. Gotta find a sweet spot. You don't want to be 70 when your kids getting out of high school.
It's 10:35, so we'll start the next agenda item. It is quarterly road report from Jason McLeese, Schedule A overview and review of past projects, ROTO Bridge repair project review and new project proposals, U.S. Forest Service, Nate Beagle, and Jared Koskela, Michael Frawley. I do want to let everyone know that Road Foreman Jason McLeese will make himself available after his presentation. He's happy to meet in the hall to take questions so that we keep things moving along, or he's really open to getting your comments and hearing your concerns. So I'll let you take it from there, Jason.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, we kind of had a short overview in the department head meeting last week, but I'll give a little more update to what we're looking at for the spring. Right now, the roads the snow is melting off. We still got a few spots that have some ice on them. Our graders, both graders are working. One's up west right now, and one's in Sayre, just knocking the berms off, trying to get the snow away from the road so everything will dry out soon. Our gravel roads are super soft right now, so they're gonna be a mess here for a while. We got a crew cold patching. They started yesterday. Is this too loud? I don't know. Anyway, they started cold patching yesterday, or 2 days ago, and they're cold patching again today, countywide. We started at Lozo. They're St. Regis today, moving through the county.
What do you mean by Lozo? Can you descriptive?
the Lozo area, like we just go out there and hit all our paved roads out there and fill potholes with the cold
They're
mix.
talking Second Courts, Lou.
Yeah, that whole Lozo area is
Okay.
the whole.
All right.
Jason, I do have a question.
Sure.
Is there a place that we would see each one of those roads so that we could name them and use them when we're asked any questions about that? Could we?
He put together, what we were together last week, or Wednesday, he put together a binder.
I've got it. It's hard on a map, Dawn.
Yeah.
Just because our maps are so big and some of our areas are so condensed. Like when you look at our subdivisions, you know, it's hard to go in. But I've got a list of roads
I think that would.
countywide.
Yeah, that would be great. I think that's
Would
a
be
good
handy,
starting
so.
place.
He couldn't put it all on a great big, large wall map because
Uh-huh.
then some of these areas that he takes care of are microscopic, so he's got the maps in that book that are.
No, yeah, I do
And I've got-
understand that.
I built individual maps off our ARC viewer, which is our county mapping. So I kind of zoomed in on each area and highlighted the road in red. And here's that map. It starts on page 1 in the west and heads east to page 25.
So they're individual, I mean,
I-
I guess we could take them all together or something, but.
Well, I like this. For me, this is good.
Sure. Anybody else want? I got an extra. You want a copy? So anyway, we're cold patching countywide. We're still in the point where with the freeze at night and the thaw in the morning, we're checking roads. We have several spots that have lots of rocks come down, so we're checking those 2-3 times a week, getting the rocks cleaned off the road. As soon as the temperatures warm up, probably next week, we'll start sweeping and washing bridges. We're in the process of, I got one guy in the shop right now servicing equipment, getting ready for the spring work. I've been kind of on light duty, so I've been working on a lot of paperwork stuff. I'm working on truck bids for a new snowplow truck for next winter. And you gotta get on that stuff pretty early to even get your name on the truck anymore. Another thing I've been doing is getting over all the roads, trying to get, and it's a little bit early yet, because we don't know when all is gonna fall apart with the soft spring weather. But getting over all the roads and making a summer list, which I'll present as soon as I get it. Lozo Bridge, like every year, was hit twice this year, so we got a good amount of work to do on that. One time we got some insurance information on the person who hit it, so they'll cover that side. The other side, we don't have no idea. Nobody got caught, so. Dust abatement is scheduled for the 3rd week in May. We always try to do that before the flea market, before that all happens. We got a call from Northwestern Energy. They're putting a power pole on St. Regis Street to power a Tesla charging station over in the big parking lot across from the travel center. Another thing we've been working on is trying to liquidate cattle guards in the county. Cattle guards are pretty old. There's not a lot of people running cows anymore. So some of them are just kind of traditionally there. Right now we got 4 that we're going to be able to remove and get rid of. Mineral County doesn't, most counties sign a contract with the rancher and they share maintenance on it, share cost on it. We've never had that in our county, so no cattle guards are under contract in Mineral County. So we'd like to get rid of as many as possible that don't hinder. You know, I know like Denley still runs cows, but there's not a lot beyond that. One of the big things we're waiting for is as soon as things dry up enough, you know, our biggest focus is going to be getting graders grading these roads up. Some other projects that we're looking at for this spring is we got ditches to pull on Tamarack, Mill Creek, Quartz, St. Regis, and we got a few spots, Dry Creek, Deep Creek, Dry Creek, Cold Creek, Cedar Creek, where we take a loader and just clean rock spots.
On that topic, T-Bone, have you talked to Cat or anybody on, if they have any used equipment or features that could help enhance or expedite that
We're looking at a skid steer with a reverse broom that sweeps into the bucket, and they're gonna bring one out and demo it next month for us, to follow behind their sweeper to pick that berm up,
Okay.
to try to help the ditches not fill up. Because we use so much sand. I feel like we use a lot more sand than we used to. You know, I don't know if it's the rain, but we use a lot of sand. So we put a lot, and then we don't pick it up, so it gets swept off the edge of the road. So we're gonna try to get that picked up. But yeah, they're bringing a skid steer out to try that in about a month.
Okay.
Said we can try it before we make a commitment, so. One of the, beyond those projects, the cemetery road, we're going to pull I need to talk to Willie and some of the guys that live out there, but we'd like to pull the gates at the beginning of it, because they're kind of narrow, and then we gotta go into the back of that and build a turnaround for our snowplow truck. We have lots of little things going on. You know, we need to clean up our sand piles, the frozen chunks from the winter, put that back in the pile, straighten all the signs. As the guys go around with the cold mixer, straightening signs and replacing signs, making a list of what needs done for sign work. We have several spots that we need to get some gravel on as soon as it dries out. But like I said, right now it's a little early because it's pretty muddy. Working on figuring out sand bids for Superior and Sawmill pits, and looking at what we're gonna need for chips at Tarkio. We need to get a radio put in our 938 loader. That hasn't been done yet. We have little projects. There's a stump at Cedar Creek that needs to be dug out. Other items are, my snowplow truck was in Missoula this week for a bad def pump. It just got returned yesterday, so it's back. Our crew will be moving to 410s next week. That'll give us a little more time in the day to get, especially for sweeping, there's less mobilization. They'll spend more time on the road, so that works. Knife River will be done hauling next week out of Tarkio, and they'll be done for the year.
So that mud issue on.
Yeah, and they're gonna come out and sweep and wash that, so they'll take care of that maybe the week after next.
Okay.
Yep. Other things we'll be looking for this year is high water starts, depending on what the sun does, anywhere from now until, May. So we'll be watching water spots. One of the things we want to look at replacing this year is the old Chevy pickup. It's got 219,000 miles on it. It's a 2006, the one that goes west every day. As far as, not a lot changed with our funding. Our BARSA money went up this year from 78,000 to 83,000 for our BARSA spending, and that's usually what I use to buy our oil and our hot mix.
For the public, maybe you want to explain the acronym what it stands for.
Regions, what is it? I'd have to look it up.
I can look it up.
It's the money that comes off at the pump, when you pay your tax at the pump.
And then it's disseminated to the county based on our number of.
It's based on the miles of road.
Miles of road.
Asphalt prices, they didn't increase too terribly. It's about $71 per ton. Knife River, $72 a ton at Western Excavating, which last year we were 70. MC 800 oil is what we use for chip seal. That came down almost $200 this year, $200 a ton to $975, which is still much more than it has been. 4 years ago, we paid $600 a ton. Now we're at $975 a ton. So that equals about $40,000 a tanker. The tanker will do just under 3 miles. So it's pretty expensive. Other than that, that is kind of where we're at. You guys have any questions? I gave you the list of roads and the map. Like I say, the maps are kind of, I don't know if you have ArcView on your laptops, but that's where the maps came from.
I do have a question, Jason.
Sure.
Because we're going to be steadfast in having quarterly meetings,
Mm-hmm.
and I know this is additional paperwork for you, but would you be able to show us, would you be able to project what your projects are from now until our next meeting, and a projected cost and an actual cost? I don't know how otherwise we'll keep track of what you said you're planning to do, or if that could maybe just be put on a chart, here's what we're intending to do for the next 3 months.
And I think I kind of covered that, didn't I?
Well, what I'm saying is, could we have it in a handout so that when we come to our next quarterly meeting, we have it to refer back to?
Yeah, I can work on that.
Because I don't know how otherwise to keep track.
It's just a lot, you know, when I'm trying.
It is, I know it
Because I'm
is.
not working,
Yep,
you know,
no, I understand that completely.
So I'll work on that, yeah.
Okay, and then could you include, please, cost? What your,
Estimated cost.
Yeah.
Like for our bigger projects, like our chip seal
Like, for
projects.
example, the coal patching at Lozo's, or estimated cost on that currently, you know?
Well, we buy about 15 tons of mix, of cold mix at $109 a ton every year. So you can have a countywide cost of that, I guess. I couldn't tell you how much they used at Lozo because I wasn't out there to see if they filled 12 potholes or 15 more, or how big they were. I don't know. We don't have any way to weigh it as we take it out every day, but we know we get it every year.
I think it would be very helpful to all of us for these quarterly meetings, you know, just to have all of it.
Right, and I used to bring a net, like when I come up in the spring and I have my list of chip seal roads and what we're gonna chip seal, what we're gonna pave, you know, then I can do a much tighter cost on all those, because I know what it's gonna cost.
I think that would be very helpful to everyone, and again, I know how busy you are, I know you're working also, but if we're gonna keep track of this and all be working together on it,
Well,
I think it's.
right, and we can track my budget too, I mean, that's the one thing
Yeah,
that's
but
also.
could we do it this way, since we're going to be meeting every 3 months?
I can-
Yep,
I'll
if you-
work on it.
Thank you, I do appreciate that.
Jason, I got one question too. We had talked earlier about the road approaches on new roads coming off the county roads, and whether they were gonna be paved or whether, you know, how we were handling that. And have you done any follow-up on that as to?
Well, they're supposed to match the surface.
Right. And so what if some of them aren't matching the surface? Are we gonna go back and make sure that they do?
Well, I don't know how far you wanna go back, but most of the ones in the last several years have all been, they've come up to standard, you know, they go to a paved road, they pave the driveway, if there's gravel, they gravel, and I don't know if you can go back, I know, because there was a lot of years where they weren't matching, you know, so. And it was hard because some of the subdivisions, like, if a subdivision was built and it was gravel for 15 years, and then you may have chip sealed it or something, then, you know, some of them were gravel, some of them were chip sealed, or paved.
So all that.
I think the driveway approach permits are fairly self-explanatory. I mean, we do quite a few of them, so I've got a file of them, and I think we do a pretty good job of keeping them.
I was gonna ask that about the driveway permit, that's where you get to address them and inspect them during that process.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say about that is, I'm sure you said you think you do a pretty good job, but if we could show that you are doing that pretty good job.
So what do you want to see, though? I can give you all the permits. I mean, rather than drive out there and look at them,
Yeah.
I do.
What do you think would be the best way, so that,
Well,
you know,
permit,
I know you're doing a good job, but how do we let everyone know?
So a permit is, when they turn in a permit, you have 3 different spots where I sign it, right? I sign at the initial approval of the location, then I sign off on construction, then I sign off on final construction. And those permits are all filed in my office, so I have folders full of them. So that shows that they're getting, you know.
Okay, so
complete.
the only thing I'm questioning then is when you say, I think we're doing a pretty good job. You know,
That's just the way I speak, I guess. We're
okay,
doing
so
a good job.
you got 100%. Well, because someone is likely to say, what do you mean? What does this mean? How do you define, I think we're doing a pretty good job? So in your book, do you suppose you have 100%?
Well, there's still some that are unfinished, but they're not signed off on either. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think it's pretty tight.
Okay.
Any more questions? Well, this time, I'm gonna turn it over to Nate, and these guys are gonna do some of the Forest Service, explain some of the Forest Service stuff that we've done in past years. Kind of give you an overview of what's to come.
Thanks, Steve-O.
Yep.
if I'm used to talking in this thing here. Well, I'll apologize in advance if I missed the mark on today's meeting. I didn't really ask a lot of questions about, kind of the format of the meeting and whatnot. We definitely have some Schedule A special project agreements that we want to present to the commissioners today, but I guess in case anybody in the audience doesn't know me, I'm Nate Kegel. I'm the staff officer for engineering on the Lolo National Forest. We've done a lot of partnership with Mineral County. I'm kind of snapshotting some of the stuff of what I've been talked to over the last 10 years, because that's where I feel like our partnership has really kind of evolved. So I guess what I started with, just because wanted to kind of provide just a little bit of background as to kind of how we've evolved a little bit with our partnership is, of course, we've done Schedule A for many, many years here in Mineral County, which is our cooperative maintenance agreement with Mineral County, largely kind of defining our road network that we intend to cooperate on. Mike, you can go to the next slide there. I kind of roughly did this, so nobody hold me to it, go pull an audit on it. This is kind of looking down the thing with my calculator, adding up some stuff pretty quickly, but I have us cooperating on about 180 miles of road with Mineral County, 55 of that being under Mineral County jurisdiction and about 125 being under Forest Service jurisdiction. By and large, we've kind of acknowledged that we're going to maintain our own road systems on that, but there is a kind of a variety of roads that we mutually do some maintenance on, generally to essentially accommodate the uses that are occurring or commensurate with our own uses. Jason and Jared and Mike have done a nice job of meeting at least annually. There might have been a few years missed, especially with COVID and stuff like that, but meeting annually to discuss that network. But I guess what I'm kind of most proud of is that, especially over the last 10 years, is I've kind of looked back in history. We've got 20 special project agreements that we've done through that cooperative agreement. That's kind of where one entity, and in this case, 100% of these cases, the Forest Service had an opportunity of funding sources to enter into special project agreements with Mineral County underneath the umbrella of that cooperative agreement. And just, again, rough ballpark, those 20 projects account for about $3.7 million, so pretty cool opportunity there. I've got us listed as 10 contractors used to kind of complete that work in that time period, and some of them have had multiple projects within that, and kind of 8 material supplier type vendors that we've used to kind of complete that work. I'll speed up. That wasn't the intent of this meeting, is to give you this, but.
Could I ask a question right there?
Yeah.
Because I don't know how aware the public is. Could you just give a really brief idea of what Schedule A means?
Yeah.
Okay.
Be pretty broad overview. Our cooperative agreement was probably developed in the 60s. Basically, it said that Forest Service and the counties essentially have a network of roads that we intend to cooperate on or mutually be able to work on each other's roads should the situation arise. So it kind of defines some of the parameters of that. It's about 3-4 pages, but within that cooperative agreement, we have what's called a Schedule A that lists that road network that we intend to cooperate on. First, by listing Forest Service roads that we kind of have a mutual interest in, and then the county roads that we have a mutual interest in. That gives us the ability to essentially work on each other's roads, so to speak. And then from there, you develop essentially a maintenance plan where you may have county roads that the Forest Service is going to maintain, whereas you have Forest Service roads that the county is going to maintain. And then you also have roads that you just acknowledge that commensurate with your use, you'll be doing maintenance on those. So you break it up to that and you develop a maintenance plan, and you generally try to meet to discuss that maintenance plan annually. It was a little bit more prevalent when the Forest Service had equipment. We didn't want to be overlapping work and kind of, you go up and find a road grader area that you're supposed to do. It gives you the ability to essentially communicate and not have inefficiencies, or find places where, well, you're gonna be up there already, why don't you just go the extra mile to get to the end of this driveway or whatever, or vice versa, you know? And so both parties wanted to feel basically like they're somewhat equitable, but at that point in time, there's no money exchanged. However, the cooperative agreement also states that entities can enter into special project agreements because there's an acknowledgement that one entity may come into a funding opportunity, and then you can make agreements as to which entity is going to perform that work. And in our case, what I'm describing here is most of the time the Forest Service has come into money. We've entered into an agreement with the county, and then those funds were then available for the county to perform that work via either force account or contract. And so that's kind of what this is.
So when you make those special project agreements, is that between you and the road department? You come into the commissioners? And where's the maintenance plan if we wanted to see the maintenance plan?
So the maintenance plan generally happens at a different time. There's like I said, I think that maybe not 100%, but it is met and discussed on its own basis, and a meeting is discussed to agree that the Schedule A is up to date and the maintenance plan is up to date. And yes, there's a specific meeting that is held to do that, and the commissioners sign both the Schedule A and the maintenance plan. Now, if you want to enter a project agreement, of course, we would come present that like I'm going to do here in about 5 minutes. It's not a unilateral thing. It happens through agreement. Both parties have to agree. Generally what happens, and again it'll happen today, is we come to discuss the project. If there's interest in doing the project, we don't take the time to burden our grants and agreement shop to develop the agreement if there's no interest to do it. So we first get some type of a verbal, then we go ahead and notify our grants and agreement shop to prepare the agreement. And then at that time, when the agreement is presented, I think a vote takes place with the commissioners, and then signatures occur to go forth to our signatory side of things. But we have definitely done that. It would not occur without a vote with the commissioners.
Those kind of projects, like you said, usually you guys are the ones with the funding opportunity. I can't remember whenever we've had the money to say, hey, you guys want that? But if we were not to agree to enter in and be your cooperator or pastor for that, what in turn would the Forest Service do if the county did not engage?
So there's a couple things at that point in time. There's been certain times where we have been in a position where if we didn't have a mechanism to obligate that funding source in a timely fashion, the funds would be essentially lost because we don't have the ability to obligate it in a quick enough fashion through our normal contracting procedures. So it can be lost. If we have the time that we need, we would go to contract. And generally speaking, for these types of projects, we have a kind of a regional IDIQ type format. It's basically a pre-qualified vendors contract list. It represents the whole region, and they would essentially take our project and they would put it out to those vendors for bidding, and we would just
Do
have
we have any of those in Mineral County?
No, there's no contractors in this local area that are part of it, and that's part of the reason that I have always come to you guys, because I wanted to, I would be happy to do that, but I also understand the kind of importance of providing local contracts, and so that's been half the reason of presenting, to at least give you guys the opportunity to say, do we want to try to have an avenue to keep this work local and that kind of side of it, because I don't want there to be any hard feelings when somebody comes in from out of town, you know, and performs the work.
Right. Appreciate that.
So again, I'm not going to read them all, but a lot of cool projects that are up there. I'm really proud of all of them, and I think that community should be as well. And it's been a lot of work for the commissioners and Jason and stuff to kind of participate in the partnership. But you can go to the next one, Mike. Like I said, I'm going to go pretty quick. Pretty nice list of contractors that we've used. A lot of what I consider to be local to the area anyways. Everybody's got a little bit different opinion. We've done some work with Mineral County Road Department. Pretty minimal water trucks here and there when Jason needs to help. You know, I get in a pinch on a project and he chips in with something. Weeds Department has helped us a little bit. Yeah, just a lot of cool stuff there, and a lot of good contractors that have been fun to work with over the years. Thanks, Mike. just kind of threw this up, just because there's, you know, definitely some vendors that have benefited too with the gravel pits and the materials that we've used. Next one, Mike. Just a highlight of a few that have gone through over the years. We had a fire up in Westmoreland here. That's getting to be good 10 years ago. And anyways, had a nice culvert replacement on Hardy Creek Road. Got a lot of gravel work, did some good crushing out of the Cedar Creek pit. That was very beneficial for getting onto the Cedar Creek Road. Put the lay down on the Cedar Creek Road, made a huge benefit for not only people that lived up there, but our project with the Cedar Tom and getting some timber sales out. Next, Mike.
Could I ask a question there, and maybe I missed it, but how did you determine Cedar Creek Road?
Well, yeah, a lot of it's based on the funding that was there, and in that particular instance, we had done, the Forest Service was planning some management activities in Cedar Creek drainage. The project was called Cedar Tom, and so we had some pretty strict requirements to do some road work on Cedar Creek. But meanwhile, at the same time, Jason had informed me they were having some maintenance issues. The existing subgrade was poor, the drainage was poor, and we just really worked together on deciding that would be a good place to cooperate. We had funding because we had an activity in the area. Those opportunities, we can make requests to perhaps like our regional office to fund those mitigative efforts that need to take place for our project, and we received the funding. And again, everything else applies as to why we chose to kind of cooperate with the county and do that work there that way. Route of the Olympian, just a cool project that I think obviously the West End community benefits from tremendously with all the activity from those local communities and the access that's provided by the Route of the Olympian. And so we partnered on that. It's been pretty fun and cool opportunity. Trout Creek, same thing. It's Hoodoo Pass and everything else. That was a special funding source that we had to do that. And obviously we have a lot of recreational activity that accesses the mountain lakes, the state line, and then that connectivity to Idaho. So Fish Creek, we've been really pounding that as hard as we can, and we still got more to come. Pretty self-explanatory, but you know, we've had management activities over the years that we've always wanted to make improvements to the road, and we got some people that live up there, and the recreation, and yeah, it just was a cool place to make an investment. This is basically the Olympian. Same agreement. This isn't like necessarily a different agreement, but it just showcases a different type of activity we did, and we probably did this on short order, which was taken care of much quicker than what we've been in the Forest Service in our slow process as the county step in, put a contract out, and get a nice product at the end that was pretty sensitive to essentially the ecological values of the St. Regis River as well. That's it. Okay. So I didn't mean to go that much into kind of some of that stuff. I just kind of thought it, you know, draw out some of the past successes. I mean, I think that there was a lot of years where we cooperated on our road system via Schedule A. I just think that it was really in the last 10 years that we've done a lot of partnership work through special agreements. So anyways, we're obviously looking forward to carrying that opportunity forward. Great American Outdoors Act is an opportunity that gave us that. We had some projects funded through the Great American Outdoors Act, and we've got some of those agreements in place. They were listed up there, but I guess moving on to maybe second agenda item as far as Forest Service, we do have an existing agreement in place for the Route of the Olympian via the Great American Outdoors Act. We've done some nice projects via a couple different contractors, some gravel and grading. Got some stuff done from the Little Joe up to 2 Mile, and then also from Henderson down to Ward Creek via some gravel and grading. But we have a kind of a third phase. It's the same agreement. We've just split it up into sequences of different contracts. And up against the wire with winter coming on this stuff last year, we put a bridge maintenance contract. We've had a lot of bit of interest from the local snowmobile club to essentially do some maintenance on the bridges, accommodate their groomers a little bit and that. We just got the contract out last winter a little bit too late. Vendors had a little bit difficult time seeing it. We really were one out-of-town bidder that was way, way beyond our estimate and way beyond what we had available, even in the agreement. We could not accept the bid. And I think you guys denied the bid based on the fact that we didn't have enough money to pay for it. So we're gonna come back. We got some feedback from vendors that had we put a 2-year performance period on the contract, that would help, because they're, especially the good ones, people locally, just really already booked up for this coming up summer, you know, and so they wanted 2 years to be able to maybe, and we don't have any super big hurry on it, so I guess we want to ask to maybe put that one back out for bids with the 2-year performance period, and we also broke it up so it's a little bit easier to see, get a bid price on each. There's like 3 or 4 bridges that have various maintenance activities on them, and so we thought that those 2 things would help get better bids on the project. So I guess that's kind of item number 1. Am I saying that right, guys?
It's got 2 options.
Okay, and two, we call them option items. This is the base contract, this bridge would be an option item should funds be available, and this would be an option item should it even more funds. So it just gives us some flexibility, so. That's that. Like I said, that one's a weird one because we already have entered into agreement to do this work, but I definitely wouldn't force you guys, you know, into putting out a contract that you're not, you know, comfortable with. We can do some different things, you know, but we do have to deliver on the agreement one way or another. I don't even know what it would look like to cancel the agreement. I don't think we want to go there.
I'm curious, because I'm newbie, are the commissioners ever a part of your meetings when you discuss special projects, your maintenance plan? Are we ever in at the ground level of those things?
Not really. I mean, I've definitely seen a variety of different things. I just came from a regional role where I have noticed some committees. I worked at Gallatin County, and they definitely have some type of a committee that likes to work in Schedule A and discuss where their priorities would be should funding. But most of the stuff that you're seeing here, I have a different sheet that I listed, but it's just too much for a presentation. But it lists all the funding sources. Surprisingly, we've done the majority of this work through the RAC program. The Resource Advisory Council has selected these. So definitely the opportunity for the Mineral County group to participate in that. Certainly welcome to put projects forward on that or collaborate with the engineers on the development of those proposals. Like I said, some of them are because of a timber sale or management purposes that we have. So, I mean, I would say kinda, yeah. I mean, it's been pretty informal. Jason has said, hey, you guys are doing a lot of hauling out on Tamarack Creek. And I said, no problem. That's totally cool. We should be doing that for you. So it's been kind of that nature. But if you want to formalize it a little bit more, I'm not promising that those would always be funded, because we get funding for very specific projects and we just go do them, you know. So sometimes we are being told what projects are going to be done. So I would say I would never discourage anybody from having some type of opportunity to provide input, but I mean, that's part of
the project. But the project money aside, which, like you say, depends on a timber sale or a project, whatever.
It's
the RAC money is more where you could kind of, and we were kind of with a defunct RAC for many years. I can't remember if they finally reappointed some folks or not.
They're still in the process,
But that would be a way where our local input could throw some of the dollars towards a specific thing that didn't have a project attached to it. Because sometimes you guys go a couple of years without a project.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But no, I mean, there would be absolutely, it would be a cool thing to do to kind of go through our Schedule A and kind of have a common understanding of our priorities. But like I said, I would never promise, because it's based on whatever flavor of the funding source that comes, you know, and we respond to that. And sometimes it might be the 10th priority on it. Just, we have an opportunity and we go for it. So
I was thinking more along the lines of observing, so I'd like to see how these things start and how they're decided, and I just, like the maintenance plan, the road maintenance plan, I'm just curious about it. And so could I ever sit in and observe how you do that, or for your special projects? Have you guys ever sat in at the beginning?
Cedar Tom and looked at those.
Yeah. See, I'm the only one that hasn't seen how it happens, and I just would like to watch that process.
But sometimes it's a surprise to us. We get information from the Washington office that comes to our regional office and says, this road is on this type of a network, and we see it's due for resurfacing, you're due for this amount of money in this year. So it's not that there was an actual process. We were told we have a funding opportunity, and then if we think it's a fit, we come to you and say, do you want to partner? If you said no, totally cool, we're gonna go, work this avenue. So, in that particular example, you would not have really had an opportunity to participate.
Yeah,
in
I
that.
just want to observe.
Yeah.
But then, so then I would have a question for you guys. So you went up there and saw the project that they were proposing? Is that right? Where, wait, yeah. And so then what did you do? You came back and said, yeah, okay, we're on board? Or what do you say? Or it looks good, or you just?
And then we went and looked at it after it was completed,
Uh-huh.
the one I'm thinking of.
So these guys were involved with all the collaboration and the development of the Forest Service project. When we got the funding opportunity, the only process that took place is, hey, we've got some money. We have an opportunity to partner. Remember when we looked at Cedar Creek and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service wanted to do this, this, and this? Do you guys want to participate in the partnership of this? And that particular and they said yes, and they agreed to get a project agreement. So that's how that one. There really wasn't a huge process to observe in that particular instance.
Okay.
But we did go out, we did get, because of that, we had a local vendor, I think it was Haskins, and we went out and got to see his work and how nice it looked, and before and after. But like you said, we were really just agreeing to do it so that those out-of-state vendors didn't get the work.
And one thing I want to add there is, when they come to me with a project in the near future, we talked about coming to the commissioners, explaining the project before it ever goes out to bid, so you'll have a voice in what you think of it. If you want to go look at it, you can always jump in and go look at it. But some of them are not on county roads, some of them are way up in the interlodies. But before we bid any more projects, they'll come to you and we can explain where the funding's coming from, what the project is, and before it ever goes to bid. So there you will have a little more input on that.
Yep, that's pretty much that. Again, that was, I think, one agenda item is to see, I guess, if everybody's comfortable going out to bids again on the Olympian Bridge maintenance contract. And then we have two new projects. And so this is how you'll get to see how this evolves a little bit. This is really kind of it. We essentially had an opportunity through the Great American Outdoors Act. We had a tunnel that was identified as condemned, and that was up at the Borax Tunnel. It's just below Lookout Pass on the Northern Pacific Rail grade. Essentially closed the road because of our FHWA, as our federal highways requirements for compliance with safety. And so that really is unfortunate, because if you've ever been on the grade, it comes out of Lookout Pass and winds its way down in along the St. Regis River and then into Taft, and it's very popular for the UTV, ATVs. Plus, it does not restrict any kind of motorized access. That's just the primary user. But with that being closed down, it kind of shut off that. Now, there is kind of a bypass trail for snowmobilers and UTVers, but the road is in fact closed right now just because of the tunnel being now condemned and that. So what Jared and Mike worked hard on is putting together a set of plans for creating a bypass road that would be meet the specs for our motorized vehicles. And so essentially that's what we're proposing is to use the plans and specifications that these guys developed and enter into a project agreement with Mineral County via that route, and ultimately implementing that project to build that bypass road. Again, I don't know that we necessarily need any kind of vote like Jason described. It would be an opportunity for you guys to think about it and weigh that. We can provide the plans and those kinds of things, but I don't want to ask our grants and agreements to develop that agreement if you have no interest, you know? And so I haven't even come with something for you to sign or anything like that. It's presenting the project, describing it to you, happy to provide more detail on that side of it. And if you don't want to, there's no pressure on you. You don't have to do this. It's an opportunity, but I do want you guys to know we will then have to go out to our IDIQ for these construction services, and it won't be anybody locally building that project. So that's part of the reason is that I don't want there to be any hard feelings later on. That's probably what's going to take place in that side of it. So just an opportunity. I know that most of the contractors that I've worked with in the area have been really happy with the program and the opportunity to do that. So just put that out there a little bit, but something to think about.
No, I think it'd be a great opportunity. That's very used by the four-wheelers and the side-by-sides and the snow catters. So would they ever, you're gonna do the bypass road, or what they're doing to the bypass road, would they ever do anything to repair the tunnel?
It's not looking like it. I'm not a tunnels expert, but I asked as many questions as I could before I got way beyond my technical capability, and no, it's not going to be something that we'd ever be able to rehabilitate based on the conditions that are taking place.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Rocks are falling
Yeah, don't even. It has to do with the amount of pressure being put on the concrete, the lining in there. That there's just the way that the forces react with all the moisture and everything. It's just without millions of dollars, there's no way they could alleviate that pressure to kind of slow down this monitoring that's showing imminent failure.
I think they had that same problem with the one on the Hiawatha at one time. They had that close.
Yeah,
And some work was done.
Yeah, not in this case. So that's one. And then we have another project proposal too. All the same conditions exist at the St. Regis Park. We have an access road there into the park that there's some Forest Service ground. There's special use permit, there's some other stuff, okay.
Yeah.
We have that on our Schedule A, the access road. We'd like to expand the parking there. That would not only help any of the events that take place throughout the year, but we, again, as you've seen through these, we continue to develop the route of the Olympian, and we envision that a place for people to congregate at the bottom end of that or unload perhaps their UTVs and that side of it. So we would like to essentially, come via this avenue to work with the county and partner on. It seems like a cool place for us to partner just with the interest of the St. Regis Park. But again, it's, there are other avenues, but this would be a cool opportunity and be a cool kind of white hat partnership project. So we're gonna present those to Jared. Nice job developing some plans and specs and everything else. So we're ready to go on it.
I agree with you, Dwayne. Not only are they good projects, but we're really having a hard time in our county lately economically. So anybody that can still work their equipment and their dump trucks and have a livelihood existing here, I think it's great because I know I used to get calls when an out-of-state vendor would get the contract for Fish Creek Road or whatever, and they'd come over. They didn't pay the property tax on their grader. They didn't even come and buy an SM plate. They thought they'd be up there and do the job and nobody would know. And so guess what? They undercut all the local guys because the local guys have to pay the property taxes in Montana. They had to pay for the SM plate. So anyway, I concur on both. Those are good projects with good economic opportunity for our local workers.
Well, at a minimum, we will proceed with having our grants and agreements draw up the agreement. And then at that time, whether you would like to reserve the right to vote on the acceptance of that at that time, that'd be fine. But it sounds like we're safe enough to proceed with the effort that goes into developing.
I guess I tip my hand, so would Wayne, but maybe we have one person.
Wait, it's not that I'm on the fence. I'm sitting here contemplating, is this an issue that does deserve public comment or not? Making these decisions.
Well, it would be on the agenda and it would be
okay,
For
but
the
so when
contract.
we say.
Everything that we look at on the desk could be on there, and the people could all see it too. And when, after Mr. Crawley gives his presentation, then we would allow the public to, make their comment, because absolutely, I mean, we tipped our hand, that maybe there's something we don't know from the public, and they might
Yeah,
influence.
that's why I'm asking.
Before we vote, they have the opportunity to comment on what they see as well as what we see, and what they hear from the presentation.
Mhm.
So, absolutely.
That's what was just
Okay, yeah.
going through my head.
So, do you want us to, do we need to get back on a future?
I know that you commented that sometimes you kind of don't want somebody to waste their time. What would you call it?
Oh, so we have a grants and agreements
Right,
job that develops and draws up these agreements.
Mhm.
They're not overly large, there's 4 or 5 pages that talk about the terms, but it really outlines the financial piece. And I guess that's a piece that hasn't been discussed very much. So what happens is essentially, you guys either look at it, you're gonna come, work with us to do it how we've kind of said, but like I said, we would specifically attach the plans and specs, we'd sign off, we'd have our signatures on it, and that is developed by us and whatnot, and then you guys would either do the work in-house via force account. Jason and past commissioner boards have always indicated that, A, because of capacity, wants either, which I don't blame the crew being working on other priority items, and go ahead and contract this work, which is totally fine with us. And then as the work gets completed or as invoices come in, you simply just invoice us and we reimburse you for the cost.
And then regarding that, Nate, is there like only certain cycles or months where that reimbursement payment would be received, or?
We can do it the minute it's received.
Okay, so we don't like have to wait until the month of September.
It can even be done simultaneously.
Okay, so we're not necessarily losing the money that we spent before we get reimbursed by what you give us back.
I mean, obviously, depending on there could be a few weeks or something,
Right.
but yeah, generally speaking, if we're keeping up on it and coordinating, there really should not be any.
Okay.
But I have to know about it. I mean, if you guys get the invoice and don't tell me you got the invoice and wait, then I can't, I
Right.
can't know
No, then that's
that you
not-
got an invoice.
I just didn't know there was some federal thing that says disbursements cannot go out
Nope.
until this month.
No, they are very quick with it, and they are very good to work with in the Budget and Finance Center.
So I am a little bit confused, because are you just asking if we want to say, yes, go ahead and pursue this? Is that what you're asking right now?
Well, I mean, ideally, we could vote that we're going to go ahead and accept the agreement, but if you're not comfortable with that, and you are comfortable at least saying we reserve the right to, I guess, review the full agreement in the written text, then I completely understand that's probably where I'd want to be if I were you, but I guess as long as I can get some acknowledgement that it's, that there's general support for doing it, and that we could proceed with developing, drafting the agreements.
I think we can say there's general support, and then what you said, we would prefer
Reserve the
a vote
right.
later when everybody can be involved.
All right, so what we'll do is we'll get back on your agenda for maybe a month from now. I'll work with grants and agreements, see when they can have those prepared, and then we'll get back on the agenda. And at that time,
Excellent.
yeah.
And then could I just let you know, to get on the agenda, make sure that you give Darren Castor a call. He'll put you on the agenda. There'll be a form to have you fill out, but just so you know the steps to do it, so we don't miss out on anything.
No problem.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Nate. You're a good presenter. But I wanted to hear from the others.
Yeah, make these guys.
State your name.
If you want to get up and mingle around and get to know your Forest Service guys, or talk to Jason, there's a couple of minutes left of this. And
What do you call it, Chair?
Mingle? I call it
Mill
mingle.
around?
oh, did I say mill around? Yeah.
One time.
Get up and mill around. That's right. And someone said to me, "What does that mean?"
That's what your mom said. What are you milling around? Go do your chores.
Hey Nate.
Yeah.
Can this PowerPoint be found online?
I don't have it online.
Could you email it?
You bet.
Do you have cards?
I
knew I would eventually get
I'm a small town guy.
No, it's not.
Are you gonna mill about or do?
I got you on the phone. I talked to you on the phone before, yeah.
That's awesome. It's been a long time coming. It's like that next match.
Yeah, he's actually now.
You know, my only regret is that I knew that if somebody isn't digging, they probably could find something. I just don't know how to do that.
I appreciate that, but
Just the last 2 weeks, I
that was
just
recognized but I appreciate that. So it's not
She's at the
So we're here, so there are contractors here.
And basically, there's that triangle piece of land. Okay. But anyway, he just has some big plans. I gave him your number and Brooke's number and told him
and my email is
County Resource Coalition. And he just has a lot of thoughts, plans, maybe he wants to build a house on his land, and maybe like a veterans memorial park.
It's a post office.
Private, obviously. One of the main roads for trucks.
So we just finished up.
So, and about 1,000 feet from over there. I just wanted. I don't have to tell anyone.
So this
So I just thought it would be really good for him to contact Larry Brooks, since you guys are very invested in the recreation. So I just.
So all that we do when it's
I just thought it would be great. Comes here and he basically should be something, you know? Maybe that. It's really, it's probably about 5 acres right by the same.
It's the same one we did before, other than it's like we said.
And it's the same one on
Yeah, so, you know, there's the trails, rails. Anyway, so that's.
Wait till the next meeting, they think their next post. Like this one now. Right.
Other side.
He's okay with that continuing.
It's on that road. Basically.
Different department.
There was like 3 or 4 bridges on there.
Well, it's a railroad.
One of them was for bridges, it wasn't extensive work, but
So, you know, he verbally said he's gonna do it. I mean, once further along the process, we build a relationship.
maybe they went with another year though, I don't know. It's not overly technical work, but it would be, I mean,
Typically,
you have a great idea.
hesitant to go forward with those type of easements because
The nearest place to get that timber bridge structure somewhere in most parts of Alpena, someplace in
We
do that right treatment and the right circle numbers and stuff.
I just thought it was great.
Yeah, no, you guys were
There's only a study of you guys have been specializing in. I gotta wonder for our guys, it's a little bit of a stretch that core cable, never been doing it before.
So I was like, definitely makes me feel where
You're number one in my group. I'm just fine today.
Oh, yeah, it's good to have. But I tried to blow these up, and they're all done in red. I mean, so I would blow, like this here is silver, this is silver gray. This is salt. So I blew it up and I showed you, which I did. But like, when you look at the map, this is silver gray. Well, I couldn't show you on that, so that's why I zoomed it out. I'll show you. These are what I found. Wally came up, these were the old ones. They made, I think, with that.
we might want to take it. It's not like it's a man.
But it's not, I don't need to. Because I just don't need it's like, when you look at our roads, it's like you look at, look at it here, you know, that's like 300 feet. This one's like 600. I mean, it's pretty hard to get it on the map, 600 foot
It was a one side all there. Right, you know, I should say the entire.
Yeah, and I don't,
That just came to my mind.
right, and I would have to look at what the agreement says that he showed you, because I wouldn't put a counter, there's no counter. Counter is real. So, and the problem with our counters and our counter is they're all faded, like they're getting old. And we used to be able to go to, Pacific and buy big long sticks of the molded, the tops. They don't do it anymore, so I can't get them. So a counter, set of counters is gonna be over $6,000. And in most counties, they sign contracts, like in a rancho on a county guard didn't go sign a contract, and say, okay, so you're either gonna keep the county guard, or you're gonna maintain it, we'll maintain it, or you're gonna maintain it, or we're gonna maintain it.
Thank you.
We don't have it here, so I'm kind of going around and saying, well, hey, these are good jobs, you guys. You're gonna get help. And most of the people are saying, well, I guess it was like for the house. So I got 4 right now.
I can't even work.
You
guys all stay.
Yeah, but there's still, it's still a problem. And but to put it out there, there's no reason. If he's got something that says, if it's value on.
Well, it is indeed that it's advanced.
I could have been still in his face.
And then
If he signed a if he wanted to, you know what I would do there, Don, is I would say, you know what, if you wanted to. says that we,
for myself, just so I can.
if we're required to, we need to set contracts. That's what we're, that's what we should adopt in the county, if somebody wants to, that they don't have to purchase it, because it's not all, it doesn't always benefit the county.
Well, no, but why would that have to be purchased if you're taking one out and you're just gonna?
Because it's a short time deal, and it's a year, and we have to, there's a lot of minimums in the fix. You know, you have to go cut the top off of it.
Yeah.
It's $100 or like 3 feet on
This was, we had Sunny.
Right, I understand. My issue, I guess my issue. Well, no, it's longer now, because even when I was.
That's gonna be
I think we should take that to the county. If it has to be done, and you guys tell me to do it. And we would definitely do that, because I don't want to buy a new one.
Yeah, oh, good.
But we could reuse them, but
Yeah.
part of the reason I'm getting rid of them is we don't have snow.
No, I understand that, I understand.
Like I said, you guys tell me.
The first number they put out there was $1 million.
No, I understand that, I know.
We get it to half, okay, at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's, my biggest problem is it used to be, when Tim was here, he would always say, when he did any kind of, my question for you, you need to find another way to be ready. And I don't hear that much people, so that would be yeah, but there again, this is where we get into. The hard thing is, was there an existing? And I don't know, we don't have any parameters of, was it a field access, or was it just somebody driving over the ditch, or was it an actual approach? Yeah, I know, it's hard, it's hard.
Because where the women are all, the men are all library, the children
And see, I think for as long as I know, there was always like a person who was driving. So, and I don't, it probably was never. Because they're not using it for a residence, it's just another one.
And these other they're closer. What that
I have a question. You mentioned that there's the process of putting a charging station, Tesla station. Who benefits, who's gonna profit from that? Is it gonna go to the county, or is it gonna go to the city of San?
Oh, I don't think either. I would assume it's going to be on Bullock's property.
So they're gonna make the.
I assume that that's how it's going to. All I know is that they told us they were going to put our power pole in and pour over to the station. So that's what I know. I assume it's on there, and I assume they either have to lease the property or.
I have to bang the gavel because we have an 11.
Okay, I was just curious. Oh, okay.
We have 11:40 meeting, it's time to start.
I'll tell you whatever I know.
Thank you, everyone. 11:40, discussion about comments and modifications to draft. The document submitted for comment last week regarding organization and structure of commissioner meetings. Mineral County Rules of Procedure to be added to this document. So we are open for discussion about another revision to the Lewis and Clark template that we intend to use if we come to that agreement. We did not receive any additional comments from last week, March 15th. We had a deadline, have your written comments in. We got 2 up to that point, and we've discussed those 2. So now we're at it again to take a look at another revision, see if we're ready to go for next week.
Do you want to know what that was? The only other revision that we made to the draft that you have was on page 3, part D, Text messaging, et cetera, did not exist when the first draft was done of this for Lewis and Clark County by Paul Saul, said myself, et cetera. So we added the language on text messaging, clarified the language regarding cumulative meetings and text, because text didn't exist then. So we basically took the concept of the email part on page 3 and just added to it the text messaging portion and the cumulative meeting question and doing one after the other to get around the system. So that's the only change we had to add to it because the document basically was outdated because text messaging didn't exist when we did it years ago.
Okay.
Not that many years, but that's the only change we made.
Okay, then I do have one other question.
Sure.
We had maybe it's inserted in here, but we had that draft of rules for addressing the board. Is that inserted in here, or I thought it was gonna be a last page?
We thought what we should do is make it the last page. And just,
Is it there?
it's not there on the copy you have right now because I didn't have the template on Mary's computer for that form. But the thought was we could just add a sentence on the last page that says, a copy of the rules and procedures for public comment is attached as Exhibit A. You just attach that sheet. We had no changes on the sheet, but I don't have it on the computer.
Okay, because I did have one change, and that was to remove the cell phone thing. We were taking that out. I don't know if that got done.
I didn't do it, but if I think Mary or Gloria, when Gloria is back, she's sick today, but when she's back, we can probably scan it in and then take that off and have it on the computer that way.
Yes, I just want to make sure that it is out on display, because if we would like to adopt this on next Friday, I want to make sure that that is seen. The only change, I believe, is we're taking out cell phones off and none of, whatever that line was, and also we had one other written change in it from last week.
Okay, that one I don't have, but we do have it on Word now instead of on a PDF. That was part of our problem, was part of the systems were PDF, part of the systems were Word, and one doesn't work on the other.
No, it doesn't.
So we had to get them in the same format so we could fix.
And so we did reinsert under C, C1 and C2. Okay, so.
Okay.
There's still something here not changed. Oh, go ahead, Ken.
Well, I was just gonna comment that, we kind of went through this last week on this very same thing. It's really, and you said you only got 2 comments. The reason I didn't comment is because I never had a completed document. Last week we had 3 different papers, and I expected we were gonna come and get a draft copy this week to be able to have discussion. So it sounds like we still don't have a completed draft piece because we're missing the back page, plus there's some comments there that were discussed last week that aren't in there. So I'd hate to see a vote on this thing next week even before you get a chance to get a final completed draft that people can look at to make a comment. So
I agree with you.
That would be my only comment.
Yep. So it looks like what we'll have to do is open it back up for comments. We'll take any comments that you see on one of these revised resolutions that's over there. And we will still need to add that last page to be looked at and discussed next week. We won't vote on anything yet because it's not together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would think we need a completed document.
We do.
before we
Yep.
can-
You're absolutely right.
So are you able to send that to us via email prior to next Friday's? I mean, it sounds like it's just adding that one page, just so that we can make comment on that completed document.
Absolutely.
So on page, thank you.
Or if that, or we can actually have it typed up for review next week.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then we'll have another week before our comments are due.
Yeah.
We won't do a premature vote.
Okay.
Right, but I'm just saying that it's on hard paper, then it
Yep.
can be reviewed again, rather than her hope to get an email, and maybe the email distribution only goes to half the people.
No, absolutely, yep.
Okay, and just to, on page 1, we're under B, meetings on Tuesday and Thursday will generally, I'm not sure what that is in reference to, if that should have been taken out, and it just wasn't.
That should be, I thought it was out.
Okay.
Oh, no, it's still here.
So total revision.
Okay,
For
yeah.
next, yeah, to look at
Yeah,
next
because on
Friday.
page 2, there's also, on page, well, I guess I should save it, once I have the, document, I'm in disagreement with that. On page 2, number 3, the last sentence, at the commissioner's discretion, public comment may be received during the work session. I would disagree and ask that, public comment be allowed.
I'm sorry, could you show
Yeah,
me?
page 2.
I'm on page 2.
Number 3, work sessions, last sentence.
okay.
I'm just in disagreement with that and ask that, but I can include it once I receive a final completed document, but I'm asking that instead of may be received, that it be shall be received or allowed. And then on page 3, did you get?
I need to write that down and I need to look for that.
Okay. And then on page 3, under D, open meetings and email, it would still be the first sentence. Recording by radio, television, and photography. I think that we need to include, if we want to have all electronic devices on there, or if it just says any and all electronic devices. I've seen folks have iPads and their Apple laptops and cell phones. So are we going, I don't know, that just needs to be cleaned up, I think. And then the following paragraph, second sentence, where it starts synchronized email or text discussions, it says our email, so that would be an or. And then I didn't see anything specifically in regards to Zoom or FaceTime, but I thought that we had referenced it. So I just wanted to note that, because Zoom meetings are not on here, and neither is FaceTime. And I thought we had a little bit of discussion last time on that, but I think it would be needed to be included somewhere, but I can also put that in comments.
Yeah, I would like you to, because
Okay.
I'm a little confused on the Zoom.
Okay.
I don't know what you're referring to.
So, because it's not stated, that's what I'm saying.
Which part? I mean, what is it that you're looking to have stated about
Again,
Zoom?
page 3 of 8, D, open meeting, second paragraph, second sentence. It refers to email, text, it should be or, not are.
Right, I got that.
Email or text exchanges, what about Zoom, FaceTime, that sort of stuff, messaging. Because we all have the capability to do those things, right? So should they not be included?
I don't think here, because how would we synchronize? I wouldn't be sending him a Zoom or a FaceTime message while we're here. That's what we're talking about.
Well, this doesn't say here. This says discussions or private group coordinated meetings involving. So I'm just asking more
Sure,
than.
I'm just trying to
Okay.
understand. Yep.
So I'm just saying if we should include any way of synchronized communication. Does that make sense?
Oh, she's talking between commissioners.
Between commissioners.
Yes, that's why I was saying Zoom. How would I be Zooming you in a synchronized up here?
It would be synchronized if you were doing it, right? So I'm just saying, if we want to be super clear and just
I do get
clean it up.
Yeah.
Okay, so but I'll include that. Okay, and I think that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Needs a little more work.
So I did notice a few things, where you're saying that meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays will generally begin, that is something you're scratching?
Correct, because we are scheduled for meetings on Fridays.
Okay, I'd like to point out that, you guys are now doing you're now doing office hours and they overlap.
Mm-hmm.
The one day did, that's not normal.
Okay. When they do overlap though, that's a quorum and there needs to be minutes. And you've stated in this document that you may have office times for discussions. If you're going to have your office open in a quorum and it's going to be a discussion on the working of this, reworking of this and wording of this, I think that it's appropriate, and AG's opinions have concurred, that if you're going to be discussing things and marking up drafts, that that is an agenda that needs to be posted to the public.
What page is that, Juliet? Where you're saying that it's okay to talk? Because I was in the third floor jury room, and she was down here, we were supposed to be separate, even though we announced we're both in the same location. And that's why I provided our unattended meeting. Did she ever get one?
I don't know if you did, it's part of the minutes, it's part of the official minutes, unofficial minutes on the table. It's the last page.
But,
No, this wasn't included in what's stapled on the table.
Somebody must have made more minutes without my knowing, because I stapled all that to all the unofficial minutes.
I picked them up as soon as I came in, and this is not attached to it. Anyway,
Did you find it, Clayton?
what I'm asking is, like, this week you guys had, Dawn and Dwayne here, having office hours. And so the natural assumption is that you're in this room together and you're working on something for a meeting. If you're doing non-ministerial work, then there needs to be an agenda, there needs to be minutes. I just want you guys to recognize that that is the law. As we go through this, let's see, page.
Can you back up? Did you say that in here, it's saying that on days we overlap, we will be talking together?
Well, it's kind of goes to the meetings on Tuesday and Thursday. If you guys are both holding office hours, is that not a meeting? And if you're on page 1B, meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you said you're scratching that. But what I'm saying is if you guys are having office hours in the same room and have a quorum, is that not a meeting?
That is.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute though.
Wait. Wait, which
Wait a second though. Well, do you have in here about the work sessions?
Yeah,
Okay, where would we find that?
it's an exception, it's on page 3, paragraph 8. The last line of the paragraph. It's in there.
Correct. The calendar agenda shall be prepared weekly by the presiding chair or designee.
Before that one, it is before that line. It was added very typically.
I'm sorry, I don't see it.
If it's not on the copy you have there, then it didn't print. Because it may have been in PDF and not printed on the Word. I don't know, but very typed it, I guess.
Okay, so it's the last sentence before.
In-person work sessions that do not involve decisions and that are up on issues that will be subject to subsequent public
Yes.
comment and review are not subject to this limitation.
They are not.
Okay.
Not subject to what limitation?
Exactly, it's very unclear.
Okay, well, we can clean that up.
It will clean it up.
Yeah.
Because the in-person work session, so far the only work sessions we've seen here was with other county other county offices with you guys. And they are public, and so work sessions do require thought and decisions to change wording on drafts. If you're going to specifically work on drafts, I think that that is notification to the public. That's not just a casual ministerial work. This is non-ministerial for you to discuss the changes you'll make on a draft. That's not the definition of a non-ministerial or a ministerial. You are making decisions on what you would want to change on a draft. If you're here together, like you were Wednesday this week?
Wednesday.
When you're in a quorum, there needs to be minutes.
Yep, we got that.
That's what I'm just asking for. I'd like to move on because I don't want to beat the dead horse. So on page 5 of 8, number 5. Actually, let me back up a half a step. Why does everything suddenly change from meeting to hearings?
Because there's two differences, so maybe both are being addressed. A public hearing is different than a meeting.
Can you tell me where in the public open meeting law it defines hearing and meeting separately?
Take a look at the subdivision statute, take a look at the variance requirements for zoning, take a look at the conservation district rules, take a look at the Montana Administrative Procedures Act MAPA, which is in Title II of the Montana Code. That'll give you a clue. The list I gave you of citations that I clipped together for you that you didn't want in the mail that I gave to you this morning has that list in there, and those discussions are there. Public hearings are also specifically generally required in a different way by law, and they're also noticed a different way by law, and usually there's also a number of days in and a number of days out. That's in all the stuff I gave you this morning, so if you please read it, Juliet, that would help you.
I think she's talking about if there's a quorum of commissioners in one spot in their official capacity at a hearing, work session, and or public meeting in which we're making, agenda item decisions.
The law even says if you're writing in a car together and you discuss business.
If you discuss business, right, you're not allowed, if we were to ride in the car together to go to a conference, there would be no business discussed, but we would be allowed to ride in the car together, yeah.
Well,
It's
yeah,
in a note that says you did that.
yeah, the law does say,
Right there, Wally, right there. And minutes that said you did and did not discuss.
That's
So
what it says, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what I'm asking for in what you're calling work sessions.
Yep.
Is that if you're going to specifically work on drafts and things like that, should the public not be notified so that they can participate? Because you're telling us that we have public comment and you're telling us we can't have discussions. But you're saying that work sessions are for discussions. Isn't that the primary place you would want to have your public
Go back.
involvement?
If you look at the sentence that we wrote, that we added, that was, you said it should be longer, and it says, things that are subject to public comment, public input, are things that are exempted from the rule. So the public has a right to comment on the productivity work session, right to comment on it, that's specifically in there, and that's why it's that way. Because it's a work session, I don't care if it's Jason McLeese writing the rules about how they're gonna get the cold mix put in, whatever else, the public gets to comment subsequently. So you produce the product and it goes from there.
And the public also gets to participate by being notified and present at work sessions is what I'm asking for.
Not generally.
Oh, we're not allowed to be present at work sessions?
You can be present. for
That's
all the hours.
participation,
If there's a
Wally.
scheduled- If there's a scheduled work session to work on the set thing, yeah.
And that's what I'm asking for, is if you have a scheduled work session to
scheduled
work
work
on
session.
something that has a quorum, that you notify the public of that work session as well. Not just your regular meeting on Friday, but work sessions, because there is public that is interested in what you're working on and how the workings go to get to that decision. Right now, it feels like Wally writes this up, Wally cites whatever he needs to cite, and then you guys look at it and decide yea or nay. And that's kind of counterproductive to your job when Wally's doing your job for you. So I'm concerned there.
Okay,
We'd
and-
like to see you guys working on it.
And actually, individually, we have all had this individually. And we did not get a chance to look at it after the final revision. But we have participated like the public, individually sent notes, here's this, here's this, here's this. We did not have a work session on this, and it was random yesterday, but you will find a very detailed list in the minutes of what turned into a couple of work sessions yesterday, because there was an urgency to it. You will see that. When
Okay.
I came in with Dwayne, I wasn't here with Dwayne, I wasn't here in an official capacity at all. I don't even know how I happened to be here on the same day, it was a Monday or something. But I didn't have office hours that day, I wasn't here as in an official capacity.
that
It
needs
should
to
have
be,
said-
it should be avoided because
It should be, I don't know why I had to run in here, I'm not sure. I don't remember. Typically, you will see this, and if we were to be in the car together, you will see in the minutes, 3 commissioners rode to Billings conference, there was no county business conducted. So we get that, we appreciate that, and thank you for reminding us of that.
On to the next, page 5 of 8, number 5. The last sentence, the audience presentation or testimony may be limited at the discretion of the chair. Don't change it to shall. I think that that is an affront to the public and our ability to communicate with you. May means you may or may not. Shall means you will.
You have to, that's a legal term.
I understand that. I'm asking I'm asking that it remain may
We intend to.
and not, I'm asking that it remain may and not be a standard rule at the start of every public comment that it's 3 minutes and only 3 minutes. That's what I'm asking you, to use your word may and not shall. Because right now, we sat for 10 minutes today during public comment because there was so much interest. You limited to 3 minutes without even knowing how much interest we had. Perhaps you could use a sign-in sheet for public comment on agenda items and on public comment so you can gauge the interest and not set time limits that are arbitrary to just.
So I do want to take a minute to address that, Juliet. I am going to continue public comment at being a 3-minute talk. We're going to stay with that. When we have discussion before making a decision, then we do have to scan the room and see how much time can every person have, because everybody gets the same amount of time, for or against. Well, if I give you 5 minutes to talk about the issue before we vote, and there's 75 minutes worth of people in here, that doesn't work. So that's why that's what may be limited, is maybe every person's only gonna get 3 minutes because there's 50 people in the room and that's all the time there is. Now, when we discussed earlier ending public comment when it was over, we got a lot of opposition about doing that. So now we're sitting with extra time, and then we don't need to waste that time. We could stop public comment when public comment is over, as many meetings do. But we had opposition to that. So it's really kind of a juggling thing, what works best.
Perhaps a sign-up sheet so that you would know how many people in the audience is actually going to comment, because the reflection of how many people are in the seats are not always an accurate reflection of how many people are going to comment.
Yes, that's two different topics here. Public comment, we're going to keep at 3 minutes per person if there's 1 or 20 people in here. We're going to keep that at 3 minutes. The other discussion comes before we make a vote, when it's an action item, and we're giving the public their opportunity to talk. That is likely to be limited based on the number of people. We're not going to shall. We'll take a look. What is the topic? How many people are here? Maybe we can afford to give 5 minutes. That's where the may comes in, is before the vote when it's opened up to the public. And we don't know ahead of time how many people will be here for that. But I can tell when I look out in the room, and if there's 50 people, you can't all have 5 minutes, so we need to shave that down.
Don?
Could we have you come to the podium?
Sure.
Thank you. And you guys, you can answer. I don't have to be the one who's talking.
On saying that, last week, I sat there and I had my stopwatch going just like you have yours going when people are talking. And I watched somebody go for 4.5 minutes, but then when somebody else got up, you cut her off at 3 minutes. Be consistent. That's all we ask.
Okay, so right now we're in the discussion about the resolution. And I understand your comment, and when the timer goes off, it means you're done. It means you don't get to stand up and keep talking, because sometimes that does happen. But right now, I want to redirect us all. We are talking about changes to the resolution.
And that's, goes right hand in hand with what I just said. And this is not Lewis and Clark County, I'll reiterate.
Here, this is not Lewis and Clark County, and this was devised from a dispute that was very different from what our issues are right now. I feel that your adoption of this is a lot of legalese that Mineral County doesn't need. We have a common cause, and the common cause says talk English, not legalese to the public. And I feel that this really passes into some legalese. But I'll continue.
Can I offer, I don't know, I haven't thought this all the way through, but I wonder if a suggestion might be on a day when we don't really know, it's going to be a lot of work. I wonder if we could do the 3 minute, and then the person sits down, and then after the end, when we find out there are absolutely no other commenters, and we have, say, 15 minutes left, then they could be summoned back up for finishing or another 3 minutes.
I personally would like to keep it at every person is 3 minutes during public comment, even if there's 1 or 20 people. And I would also like to leave it that you have 1 time at the podium. That's my take on it, and I stay firm in that belief and that opinion.
Might I suggest that from page 6 out of 8, number F, might I suggest that that dead air and silence when you're sitting at the table and the public comment has ended or the agenda item has ended, that all 3 of you please state your reasons for your decisions, particularly we're not, once again, this points out, we're not dealing with land issues here. We're dealing with financial investments. So this document, once again, points out that it's not really written for us.
But it is, because
But-
if you've attended any of our subdivision things, it very much
And when we grant a
applies
variance,
to
when we
us.
grant a variance, I always try to
At
state
those
my,
subdivision meetings,
Yeah.
you
my
do.
rationale.
I'm encouraging you to do so on not just land issues. I'm asking you to have the record reflect how or why you made those decisions, each one of you. Right now, it feels like,
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and then this will be the last comment because we are over.
And I will make, real fast, Diane Magone. I just want to use myself as an example. Had I known that 3 minutes was the limit when I presented on the Sierra Mountain Road, I would have condensed my comments. And I know that I was criticized for taking up more time, giving my comments. So I actually appreciate a time limit because it will confine me and it will make me condense what I need to say, and I can do that.
And just to be clear, Diane, Commissioner Terrell was not speaking to a comment on an agenda topic where the public is trying to influence our decision. She was talking about the general, open, public comment.
And that's when I made my comments on the Sierra Mountain Road. It was
okay.
prior to the, because
When you said
we
Sierra
understood.
Mountain Road, I went right to that.
Yeah, we understood that there probably wouldn't be time, because I think Wally only had 5 minutes, to speak on that subject at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I made it prior to that, and my brother and my cousin were both here too, and I'm sorry that we took up so much time.
Oh,
but- So yes, I agree with the 3 minute limit because of that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And besides, I don't know how you know who's going to make comments, and so, yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, so any other further comment, if we could have those written and sent to us, please?
I did have a request last week for your research that brought you to this point. Do you have that available?
Juliet, my research remains the same, as I told you. I went to several places. I went to MACO, I went to local county government, I went to statute. There's information everywhere, and I just absorbed all the different pieces. So
Do you have a list of links that you kept
I
on your
don't.
computer?
No, I don't.
You don't have any notes at all?
I don't. I'm good.
Roman?
And that's my
I
answer.
was gone last week at the.
No, I mean that you guys used to come to the conclusion that you should use Lewis and Clark counties.
Oh, that,
Resolution. I asked for your research on this resolution and how you got to this point.
I just reached out and got it from them, and I thought it was one of the,
How did you know? Because originally Wally was talking about Beaverhead County, so how did you know to go to Lewis and Clark County and look at theirs?
I was in Helena.
Okay, and is there any, can you explain why you chose Lewis and Clark County over a county that's smaller like us, like Lincoln County or Sanders County? And did you review any of theirs as well? That's the kind of things that the public wants to know.
I got a Broadwater, I think I got a Broadwater one.
yep, because we
Yeah,
were,
we
yep,
should-
Broad
And
Water, we
Lewis
did,
and Clark,
yep.
and the Lewis.
And that was it?
That was it, yes.
So you didn't compare to counties our size with,
Broadwater's kind of our size, yeah, they're a little bit bigger, but population-wise. That's Townsend.
do they hold the same hours as you guys? I mean, do they do the same kind of work or do they have more hours? That's kind of what I'm wondering is where you guys, how you guys decided on putting us in the position of the capital's county
Well,
as
it was-
opposed to
this
one of the
was just a
smallest counties in
baseline-
the county.
Just a baseline, I wasn't like adopting it, it was just a baseline for us to do what we're doing now, glean the good things that they have already explained and spelled out, and take away the things that are not applicable to us. but it was just a baseline template that we can work from, and it looked newer than and it was up to date, and it was polished, and in my opinion, and I thought we could borrow the good and eliminate the bad. We're not taking on a big county's rules all the way down the line, because we're not a big county. So
We were. I need to remind you, 3 weeks ago, this was presented to us as we're going to cross out Lewis and Clark and put Mineral. We're gonna cross out the chair and put presiding chair.
Right.
It was pointed out to us that that was going to be passed the following week. So we're just asking, where did you get this? Where did you get the idea to go to Lewis and Clark County, and why have you not compared with counties our size with similar problems? Because much of that was developed based on land disputes and not public transparency and participation, which is what I feel that we're trying to deal with here. So I'm just asking for, did Wally tell you where to go, or did you guys?
Oh, no.
We all reached out.
And then,
Yeah.
but that's it, you compared with Beaver, with Broadwater and Lewis and Clark County,
I
that's it?
obtained those, yes.
And that's it for the rest of you?
But here's
I'm kind of still favoring our own.
I agree, I tend to agree with you, Dwayne, I think that ours is sufficient for
I've looked
public,
at these and,
they're too rulesy.
well, I don't know about that.
It was just
There isn't
pick out
anything that stands
some
out.
things that we maybe didn't know or haven't thought of yet, because they're a bigger county and they tend to experience those things first, and so I thought that'd be a good baseline. It wasn't because I want to copy them, you know.
Well, the original was
Parcel.
presented to us as we are going to copy it, we're just gonna scratch the
But we
names.
didn't do that, Julia. We are working
It was
with
put
the
out.
public, yeah.
Yeah, it was put out for
We
people to start
didn't
picking
do
it apart,
that.
and that's what we're
So-
doing.
Yeah, we moved forward and we are still looking at it. That was the past. We've made mistakes in the past. I've made some, but we didn't stay stuck in that mistake.
No,
We
I'm just,
have
I'm just
continued
asking
working.
what information are you using to continue to go forward and develop this for Mineral County?
Your information, everybody's information is what we are using. As far as I'm aware, that's why we're talking about this right now.
Yeah.
And inadvertently, I don't know who did, but I noticed that somebody crossed out a part, whatever, that was
Right, it
not
was in
supposed
the-
to be done, and
It was
it's
another
put back
mistake.
in now.
Yeah.
And everybody's been making their suggestions and along the way, and somebody's, you know, made a mistake, but put back in and made an improvement, made a suggestion. We're just trying to work with this and involve you guys. It's not, I'm gonna jam Lewis and Clark County's thing down your throat. Absolutely not. I don't know where.
The first presentation of it felt that way. You have to understand the way that the public has presented this,
Yep.
it did feel that way.
Thank you. And again, and then we're gonna end the meeting. We didn't do that. We can't be stuck in the past. A mistake was made and we have moved forward. And that's why we're continuing to work on this. So thank you very much, everyone. And so at this point, at 12:20, this meeting will adjourn for lunch and we reconvene at 1:15.
So when can we adjust the minutes if they're inaccurate or we'd like you to consider a change?
Could you submit that to us? Because we do like to get that approved on Friday so that we have it taken care of and.
In the future, will there be time for the public to address any errors they see?
Will it be on the website? So the public-
No, I don't put the official minutes on the website.
So on Friday, when people review it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Will it be an agenda item so it can be passed, so any corrections to the,
No, here's what we'll have you do. I think for right now, Juliet, we're gonna continue doing the way we're doing it. They're out there. You're here, you're reading them. You have something you see as an inaccuracy, submit it to us so that we can take a look at that and go from there.
and then you'll adjust it here at the table
If
and
adjust is, if the adjust, yes, and what that would be called is, minutes approved with said changes. That's how you accept that.
and so you'll still approve them up there without,
With said changes, with what you give to us.
correct?
Yeah.
You'll pass your minutes with or without said changes while sitting up there, not as an agenda item?
It's administrative business. Is when you'll see approved minutes is in the,
If they're, okay, never mind.
permission to have it, then what can you do about it?
Well, I'm sure there's conditions to the permit, and I'll dig into that.
So the one that, somebody told me when I have a junkyard that came up into my yard, I could turn them in because of those tires. I do want one painted. Other than one. So I don't know if tires, what's that, an environmental hazard?
Yeah, well, tires there's some specific stuff about tires. Ro and I ran the, over at, it was, Target.
I'm actually glad you steered mine.
Yeah.
Mine were fresh.
I'll put it on the list.
He paid the extra money. Because you're cheap.
That's right.
A bag of money. Oh, I'm definitely not.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, you're Robbie. Oh, yes, I know all of them.
Clark Fork Meadows.
He's doing pretty good. He wouldn't touch it.
115, right? Who is Clark Fork Meadows?
Yeah, he was in hard shape. Oh, yeah, good.
Good. Imagine keeping the heat down. It's over by Andy.
You want it?
Is there a heater down there by you? I don't want to cook you all out, but. I know, I'll reach on it. Oh, thank you, Andy, you're so sweet.
It's even plugged in.
Snooze, you lose? You know that one you had last week? It was a bigger one, it was like a coconut shrimp that you had.
Yeah.
It was probably your last one, and I said, well, just give me that one, and you did.
They don't ever do it.
That was really good.
You know what they got over there?
What?
Well,
of course. Yeah. Because Dave's gonna be home.
Mark.
On days like, I was gonna stay just until 6. So he was gonna go.
I'm pretty sure.
Although maybe Mark would go let her out, because if Dave's in Deer Lodge, how long is it gonna take him to get home and get up to the house?
2 hours.
2 hours?
That's if he drives like an old criminal guy.
He does. When we get the truck, the family to go anywhere, he warns everybody, I'm driving 55, so if you don't like it, don't get in the truck with me.
I wouldn't think it.
I got a t-shirt.
I don't know.
I got a t-shirt that shows
I wanted to go tell Joellen how much I appreciated her shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, I was supposed to go over at lunchtime until we ran out of time. So I'm gonna still go look at it after.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, no, this is.
Yeah, it was a good meeting, you guys. I lost the team too. So, did you tell me you gave me a trade outfit to drive? Part of the Marine family.
I'm actually in the talks right now. So, our mapping program is ArcGIS. So, I've been talking with those guys about ArcGIS online, so we've always had this problem updating all our maps. Like map has to come and all those laptops, how they're gonna just migrating that to online. You know, say some app. It's pushed to the server. Got it.
So,
No.
he'll still have to be on
He's,
the ground.
yeah, collecting all the data, providing all the data, managing it, yeah, all the new stuff that comes along. So he does a bunch of apps.
Oh, I didn't know.
So he's kind of out in this area all summer. Collecting data. Yeah, I mean, he just got, monthly, North Dakota was
I can't believe we go to the from Frank.
Shale, that's gonna be a 30-year play, you know?
Yeah, it's no longer.
Well, with
Especially the way they keep dragging their feet.
yeah, I was watching this guy, he was he's like, we missed the window.
So I put it on their desk and said, just make sure I have some Friday. Because you said you didn't want it on Friday, so I didn't have it yesterday.
The Keystone Pipe.
Oh, yeah. It was almost,
It wasn't make sense anymore. All the rest of the it doesn't really make sense for us to get the yeah, there's another step. Pipe into the Gulf. The Gulf is already, it's just saturated.
This is phenomenal. I also have
It's wild. Flare all that natural gas.
Why can't they do so?
Because it's gas. Yeah, I mean, eventually they will. Yeah. It's just such an infrastructure, right? You know, it's like, you look at it at night, you know, it's lit up like a rave, you know.
Here's how it works. So this is, just a minute.
Yeah, the only thing you guys have to do is motion to approve with my recommendations at the end. Yeah, this is the fun part. All the work's done. We just cut ribbons at this point, you know? Golden shovel.
What is this? Oh, it's an MOU for the
This is out of the, this is out of the applications for the newest version. 2020.
What does Verizon say? It says 2 minutes. I'm gonna take a minute.
Just got 2 minutes, so I was going through my planning board bylaw. And the way that written, it says one of the commissioners. I just realized that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's not kind of like ex parte discovery?
This one says, this one has the page.
Better to the old one.
Because we were supposed to have a commissioner member, conservation member.
Well, see, I can do that, I could work it out.
Oh, the red? Push the red. Push the red over the button. The red button.
I'm not sure that.
No, I certainly don't know how to run it.
No.
Somebody.
She got
I think it could be any. It's just a county commissioner. It doesn't say chair.
Well, you got the pen, you got the wherewithal.
I'd love to see the details around that.
Yeah.
So I missed the rest of that. It is a current bylaw? Because there's never been, since I've been here.
I know, that's what I was just telling.
Oh,
I've got the same card.
Yeah, when we're done with this, I'll pull it up. Just the way I read it.
I wonder if other commissioners are, because it sounds like when they get it, it's supposed to be a fresh set of eyes.
That's the line.
Yeah.
That's the one with the card.
Recommendations by.
That doesn't make sense because it's good for you guys to see it first, you know, like,
Sure.
just if you had, you know, like, you should know about it.
I don't know if I have the message still.
Yeah, just have the pros and cons either way.
Signature page and it's 1:15. So you'll need to turn it.
See, it's not you did that yourself.
It's 1:15 and the agenda item is the final plat approval for Lower Meadows Creek. Oh, I don't have an agenda, someone took mine. So I was just trying to, final plat for Clark Fork Meadows major subdivision.
Thanks, Don.
Yes.
So this is a final plat approval for a 14-lot subdivision located over their South Side Road. So it was approved, preliminary approved by you guys with 42 conditions. And so as we've done in the past, I'll just go through the conditions and how they've met them. And then you guys will decide to accept it based on the conditions being met. And then we'll close the hearing and then we'll go sign documents. So as I go through these conditions, I'll summarize them. It's some of it's redundant, some of it's boilerplate. So condition 1, the final plat and associated documents and plans, as well as all related improvements for the subdivision shall meet all applicable designs and improvement standards and other requirements of the subdivision regulations and the administrative rules of Montana. So they have met number 1. The applicant is proposing to provide parkland dedication for the subdivision. A 0.9 acre park is proposed to serve the subdivision. The parkland is adjacent to I-90 and is bordered by Lot 1 to the east and Clark Fork River to the north. The parkland parcel is dedicated by the private use of the lots within the subdivision and is accessed through county right-of-way. There are no improvements to the park, specifically boat ramp structures or any alteration to the stream bank. Park is dedicated on the plat, and the above language is included in the declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions. The proposal will be reviewed by the Mineral County Environmental Health and Planning Department for water supply, sewage disposal facilities, stormwater runoff, and solid waste, with final review by the Department of Environmental Quality. We've reviewed that, DEQ's reviewed it for all the sanitary facilities. A certificate of subdivision plat approval has been issued and will be filed with the final plat. The proposed drain field corner locations will be staked with semi-permanent structures such as metal stake or wooden fence pole marking every drain field corner location within the subdivision. If you guys remember correctly, it was somewhat tight with isolation zones, drain field locations, so we had them stake them so that when people go to build, they can, even though it's clearly shown on the lot layout, belt is in the field as well, labeled. The proposed drain field corners have been marked on the property with rebar and green caps. Well locations have been marked with rebar and blue caps. The current and future landowners shall waive their rights to participate in future improvements to Southside Road in proportion to their impact on the sections of the road utilized. We provide RSID language on the plat that states this. The above language is shown on the face of the plat under additional notes sections as note. The additional notes section as note number 1. The covenants must include declarations of maintenance agreements or some other form of maintenance plan for the interior subdivision road that shall be recorded with the final plat. The covenants must include future maintenance costs to be shared equitably and provide for private enforcement. The covenants will be filed with the plat. That above language is in the CC&Rs. And on your staff report, it's like where it's at in their article. A road approach permit will be issued, must be obtained from the Mineral County Road Department for both approaches on the South Side Road. Mineral County Road Department must verify that the road approach meets their standards prior to final plat application. So there's 2 approaches for this subdivision, both coming off South Side Road. The department received the road approach permit for Mineral County Road Department. The Mineral County Road Department verbally verified the road approach meets their standards. The submitted road certification contains standards by the designing engineer that the approaches were built to county standards. Road construction plans and specifications must be submitted for review to the Mineral County Environmental Health Department. The name of the engineer that will be certifying that the proposed road has been constructed in Mineral County road standards must be provided prior to site work on the proposed subdivision. So there was no bonding, they built the roads. The engineer of record is Brian Throckmorton, PE. This department has received a certification later stating that the road has been constructed in Mineral County standards. Number 9 talks about paving standards, same scenario, certified. All new electrical utility serving lots must be installed prior to final plat. All new electrical utilities must be placed underground to reduce the potential for ignitions in forest areas wherever practical. All the new electrical facilities are placed underground and they're installed. Right to farm language shall be placed on the face of the plat notifying prospective lot owners of surrounding agricultural practices which can be offensive to the residents of the subdivision. The language shall state lot owners waive any right to protest offensive activities associated with normal agricultural practices. That is shown on the face of the plat as note number 2. An open range statement shall be placed on the face of the final plat. The statement shall inform prospective lot owners that they will be responsible for any fencing to keep livestock out of their lots, and the surrounding area is open range. That's listed on the notes, second number 3. Gate posts or other fencing shall not be constructed in road easements without prior approval of the governing body. That is shown in additional notes in section number 4. The developer shall donate $100 per lot at the time of final plat to the Mineral County Sheriff's Department to be dispersed by the Mineral County Treasurer. We received that check, and it's been distributed to the Mineral County Sheriff's Department. The fire prevention control plan must be implemented before the governing body's approval of the final plat and will be considered part of the subdivider's obligation for land development. The local fire chief or designee will inspect and approve the implementation of the fire prevention control plan. We received the fire prevention control plan that was approved, and it was signed off by the St. Regis Fire Chief. The fire prevention control plan will be incorporated with the development covenants as Exhibit B, fire prevention control plan. Number 16 deals with the water storage. There's 10,000 gallons of water storage. The system's installed. It's up and running. The St. Regis Fire Chief has approved it. All existing overhead power lines shall be placed underground. There were some existing power lines out there that were defunct. The existing overhead power lines have been removed from the development. All new electrical services have been installed underground. The developer is responsible for the cluster mailbox and installing concrete pad for box installation. The Postal Service requests that the plans be submitted for review. Snow removal around the mailbox shall be the responsibility of Clark Fork Meadows Homeowners Association. All the facilities have been installed. The above language is included in the CC&Rs. The legal and physical access for the proposed lots within the subdivision will be noted as public easements on the face of the plat. That language is shown in section number 5, note number 5. All taxes assessed must be paid in full prior to filing the final plat. That has been completed. Title report, dated no less than 30 days prior to the date of the submittal, will be submitted with the final plat application. We have an updated title report. The Mineral County Attorney has reviewed said title report. The developer shall pay $950 plus $85 per lot for final plat review and approval. We've received the final plat approval fees. In lieu of rural addressing plan for the subdivision, the final plat shall include language to inform any future lot owners that an address must be assigned by the Mineral County Environmental Health and Planning Department in compliance with our standards. This is shown on the plat as number 6. The subdivider shall provide a weed management plan developed in accordance with Section 7 of our subdivision regulations and approved by the Mineral County Weed Board. That final copy has been approved and will be filed with the final plat. Conditions that are met through the language on the face of the plat or other documents filed with the final plat shall provide Mineral County the ability to enforce the terms of the language and require governing body review and approval prior to modification or repeal of the terms. The language shall indicate the following: these covenants may not be repealed or amended without prior written consent of the Mineral County Board of Commissioners. And the Mineral County Board of Commissioners is party to the restricted covenant and may enforce its term. That language is shown on the plat as number 7. Certain conditions we enforce specifically. Those deal with fire prevention, noxious weed control, driveway grades, and activities that would attract wild animals. This language is shown as note number 7, and they're in the covenants. The subdivider shall submit evidence with the final plat that the appropriated water rights owned by the owner of the land to be subdivided have severed any remaining surface water rights from the land. we received a copy from Montana Water Court decision on the request to withdraw interest in the statement claim removing any surface water rights from the subdivision boundaries. The developer shall update the existing letter of map amendment after the final plat is filed to reflect any legal description. This is a condition that's done after the plat's filed. Number 31 deals with bonding for improvements. All improvements have been installed. Number 32, same scenario. The proposed well locations will be staked with a semi-permanent structure such as a metal stake with principal marking every well location in the subdivision. All the approved well locations have been staked in the field with rebar with caps. I believe they're installing all of the wells. They were in the process of doing that. Private access easement for the existing billboard must be established on lot 13 in perpetuity for the commercial use of a billboard structure. That easement shown on the face of the plat. The following certification shall appear on the plat. The above described tract of land is being known and designated as Clark Fork Meadows Major Subdivision. The lands included in all roads, avenues, alleys, and parks are public squares shown on said plat are hereby granted to the use of the public forever. The roadways are accepted for public use, but Mineral County accepts no responsibility for maintaining the same. The owners agree that Mineral County has no obligation to maintain the roads and are hereby dedicated to public use. That certificate is shown on the face of the plat. Condition 36 deals with creating HOA bylaws and maintenance for common facilities. That is covered in the HOA Articles of Incorporation and the CC&Rs that will be filed with the plat. Property will be annexed in the appropriate rural fire district if necessary prior to final plat. The subdivision is located in the St. Regis Rural Fire District. No build, no alteration buffer of 30 feet wide as measured from the 100-year floodplain boundary of the Clark Fork River shall be shown on the face of the plat and staked into the ground along the property lines. This no build, no alteration is shown on the plat. Condition number 36 deals with location of utility easements. All the infrastructure is installed in utility easements, and that certificate of dedication is shown on the plat. A bump out for emergency services. Parking will be provided for the fire suppression systems. The dimension of this parking area will be 10 foot wide and length of the tanks. And that has been designed and it's shown on the as-built grading and drainage of road construction plans. Note number 41 deals with the restrictions on irrigation. This was part of the DEQ approval. They're under an exempt water right, so they're allowed a certain amount of irrigation per lot. That's on the face of the plat, on note number 8, and in the CC&Rs. And number 42 is just that it'll be done. This will be done within 3 years. They meet that guideline. And then items to be filed with the final plat are the DEQ approval, title report, consent to plat, approved weed and revegetation plan, road certifications, and the CC&Rs. That's it.
That's it.
So my recommendation is to approve the final plat application for Clark Fork Meadows Major Subdivision and file the plat and accompanying documents listed on the end of this memo.
Andy, since this is yours, do you ask the public for opinion or discussion?
No, all that's behind us.
That's behind us.
Uh-huh. No more comments.
No
on
more
this then.
comments. Okay, so how does that, Texas, this is his public hearing, so, yep. Okay, so do we have a motion?
I would make a motion to accept the final plat for Clark Fork Meadows subdivision. What was the other part of it?
And file the plat with the accompanying documents.
And file the plat with the accompanying documents.
Okay, I will second it.
Further discussion here?
I do have a discussion question. Andy, at the planning board, they were all in pretty good agreement on this, no issues. I mean, everything came off with a nice tick here, but everything seems to be agreeable to everybody involved.
Yeah. What I remember, the planning board was a year ago, so, my memory's not the best, but, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just always like to ask that, because I know sometimes in past planning boards don't necessarily agree on something. What?
As an expert in the field, do you have a comment?
Not only the expert, as a person who sees a minor wreck. This may not be an issue, but given the location of the plat, it may be. If you look at condition 1 that Andy has, it says the parkland dedication is 9/10 of an acre adjacent to I-90, adjacent to the river, for private use of the subdivision. If you go down to paragraph 31, which is the dedication of the streets in the parkland, it's dedicated to the public forever. So part 1 of the plat says this is a private park. Part 31 later says this is public. And having been through this drill all over the place, the question becomes, do we mean it to be a private parkland dedication? And then we have a dedication to the public later, given the fact it's on the river, under the bridge, welcome to the Ruby River, where they went 3 times to the Supreme Court with David Letterman, et cetera, over could you stand at the bridge and walk down to the river and get access to fish. So I see the question because I know right where this is, and I know what people will be asking. We want access to the river. So the question is it a public park? Gives you access to the river. Is it not public? So there's a question between what this condition says and what the first condition says. And we should try to make it a point to say it's one or the other.
It's actually the second condition that talks about the park.
It's the second and not the first.
Which one did you
apologize.
say was conflicting it?
It's 35.
Oh, I thought you said 31.
I'm sorry, it's 35.
Yeah.
I'm not whining, I'm just saying we should make it clear in the record because the question will come up as more and more people use the river.
Yeah, and I would say it's a private park, and the dedication says or public squares. It does say parks, but I think for the record, yeah, it's a private park.
But just make it clear on the record or file something with a plat, just a sentence that's stapled to it or a note that says what it is. Because you see why it's the 2, because people want access to the river. That's the question.
So the part 35 where it shall appear on the plat that says the lands included all roads, avenues, alleys, and parks or public squares shown on this plat are hereby granted to use for public forever. That part needs to scratch.
Yeah, and well, I
Public
think
forever?
yeah, we could meet with Wally after the hearing and like figure out how to approach that.
Because I do see the language, not that it's holding up the subdivision, there is a language contradiction with part 2.
And I don't want to hold up the subdivision, it just needs to be either A or B. And it's written to be both.
Because it says it's dedicated to the private use of the lot, and then later on it says use of the public forever.
Forever, that's the problem.
And that language in 35, Andy, is that just standard routine state?
Dedication, yeah.
And then how about the language in part 2 where it says parkland dedicated to private use of those lots within that?
Yeah, so it is a private park for the subdivision.
I meant the language, is that also standard? Is the state the one come up with that language that's contradictory?
Yeah, Wally's right, it's like it's unclear, right? But the intent is that the park is private and the roadways are public, right? So like, you know, the ambulance can go there,
Right. The UPS guy.
the UPS guy and all that stuff, but we're not accepting any kind of maintenance for the road.
Right.
But yeah, after this, if Wally's got a solution to how to clarify that, file that.
Okay.
Because that statement's on the face of the plat, the dedication.
So would we need to amend that motion to say language to be clarified?
If you wanna just add that, you know, put a note on the plat that clarifies the park. That's all you need to add to your motion, and then we can either delete the word park in paragraph 35, because that's the only part there. So if we just deleted the word park in paragraph 35, that fixes it.
So Andy, would you be able to repeat to me the motion that we need to make?
Yeah, recommend approval of the final plat application for Clark Fork major subdivision, file the plat and accompanying documents, and then.
Delete the word park in condition 35.
And I think the surveyor will actually have to, you know, it's a note on the plat, right, like approved by the surveyor.
Or just, you can type it and tape it to it, or glue it onto it, whatever, that'll work.
And so, are you the surveyor?
I'm not the surveyor, I'm the representative. I would really like to be able to file a plat and do an affidavit of correction after the fact.
That'll work.
So leave the motion as is, or contingent upon the affidavit of correction?
Yeah, an affidavit, we just, add that an affidavit of correction.
Well, I'll amend the motion to say, to concur with Mr. Simons' motion thus far, contingent upon the affidavit, clarifying this public versus private aspect of the park.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any further discussion, or does that do it?
I think that, sorry, I opened a can of worms there.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Well, he did.
We're clear.
I'm sorry I did, but it's a very real question.
Yep, okay, that's fine, we're good to go, so, all in favor say aye?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? None? Motion carried.
So now we'll lay out the
The
documents.
paperwork on that desk there, or up where else? Up there?
Make sure it's dry.
Can I make your?
Yeah.
Yeah, did you say you'll make sure it's dry?
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like, I know, this was attached to my. To my. Did you? I think it was attached. Canvas, it was attached to my. Me neither.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go message him because he might have been Candace, I'm calling you for a second.
Yeah.
But just, yeah, but still, yeah.
Really?
A little bit, they have this
So your minutes are missing at least four, I think more than that, comments that were made during public comment during that meeting. There's quite a few missing. And according to the rules, you're supposed to list a name at the top of the yes, so that the person who asked there's follow-up, then you know who asked the questions. That's the law, that it's supposed to be name and topic.
I wasn't good at it.
Guess what? He was thinking of it.
Oh, I know, but
I'm just saying, if she's having trouble with this too, there's always that. I think it's really important that the name and topic, because right now, the minutes are inaccurate, they say I was the only person.
You're first.
There, and there's questions that says a citizen
Come on down.
asked this, and I didn't ask those questions. So
The next contestant. Right?